Hey everyone, this is Eric. As I was having a grand old time in Aruba, my co-hosts decided to throw up on themselves with their picks. Maybe they'll do a little better today now that Daddy's home. In addition to football, we've got NBA nonsense, college basketball news, and the insane Shohei Ohtani deal. Should be a good one, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome to episode 263 of the Sports Ballers Podcast. My name is Eric. I am joined by Corey Puffett and Evan Ash as always. How are you fellas doing today?
Doing good. How about you?
Pretty good. Can't complain. You know, things been going pretty well for me the last week and a half. So, Corey, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's been a busy week and going to continue busy through tomorrow, but after that, I get to go on winter break, and that'll be nice.
Sweet. Good for you. I like the Yoda tie that you're rocking today. You know,
yes,
it's pretty snazzy.
May the force be with you.
Yeah,
And also with you.
Evan's wearing his business casual stuff. And
that's pre-Y2K. Now it's and with your Force Ghost.
Oh, okay.
Well, that Y2K wasn't when they changed the stuff. That was
I know, but I'm making a
Y2K?
John Mulaney reference when I say that.
Oh.
Okay, well, whatever. There's too many references flying around here. Let's get into the actual content. Let's do baseball first.
No, we got Thursday Night Football. We got to make that pick real quick.
Ugh.
I'm picking the Raiders. I'm not picking a guy named Easton Stick. That's not even a real person. You got to be kidding me.
Is Aiden O'Connell a real person?
He's more of a real person than Easton Stick.
Is Zamir White a real person?
I
I
don't
have
know
no
who
idea
that
who
is.
that is.
You picked him up, apparently.
Yeah, I just picked him up and I'm starting him because Josh Jacobs is out. He's the running back now for the Raiders.
Raiders.
Yeah.
Raiders.
Yeah.
That's
no.
it.
Like, we're talking about the the Chargers who sucked with Justin Herbert, sucked with Keenan Allen, and now they don't have either of them.
You got him.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm taking the Raiders and I'm laying the 3.5.
Yeah. All right, Evan.
Okay.
Let's just do this.
Raiders.
Okay, cool.
The Raiders.
So now we can talk about somebody actually good at their sport.
Yes.
Shohei Ohtani.
Oh.
That's our only Major League Baseball news right now. We're still waiting for a lot of chips to fall when it comes to free agency. That it seems like it gets later and later. Hot stove season doesn't exist anymore, apparently. But this one does. Shohei Ohtani, 10 years, $700 million for the LA Dodgers.
10 years, $20 million. And then
Yes.
10 years, $680 million.
Yes, which probably shouldn't be allowed, but it's allowed, so therefore, here we go.
Well, it's also interesting because he chose to do that, and yet by the time that he gets to that point where he's making $68 million a year, like the buying power of that money will be less.
Yeah, because he's got no interest on it. Like,
Yeah.
There's no...
And we're going to continue to see inflation. So,
The
I
poor
found that
guy.
interesting.
How is he going to feed his family?
Yeah, I think he'll be okay
Yeah.
on, this is, to me, an insane deal. I know the Dodgers have endless pockets, but
especially for a guy who is not going to pitch for at least the next year.
yeah.
At least one of those 10 years, he is not going to pitch.
You have no idea what he's going to look like when he comes back either.
Yeah.
This is his second Tommy John surgery.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be 30 next year, right? I mean, we get it. Shohei's great,
Oh, yeah.
but
And he definitely is going to put butts in the seats.
Yes.
Dodger Stadium doesn't need any butts in the seats. They
Yeah.
sell out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's already the best team in the NL every year. And I'm sure they can do a lot of marketing with Shohei, but in terms of just like, would I want my team to pay Shohei Ohtani $70 million a year? No,
Sure.
I would not.
Oh,
I don't think
okay.
that's a worthwhile investment. I just don't. Especially given the fact that I'm basically paying that much money because he's supposed to be two players in one. Well, he's probably only going to be one player for a while, and I don't know how good the other player is even going to be whenever he returns. So, now the Dodgers, good for them. They can afford to spend the money. As an Orioles fan, we know they're never going to spend money on anybody, but if they chose to spend money and only a certain amount of money, I wouldn't want them to spend it on this. I'd prefer them to be a little more economical with their spending.
I mean, this sort of underscores the need for baseball to have had a salary cap, right? Like it's all 30 teams aren't playing the same sport. When it comes to how much money you can just spend because you have it. You should be required to spend a certain amount, and you should be required not to spend over a certain amount. But Shohei Ohtani, I think he's worth every penny. Just, he's spectacular. So, if he was able to negotiate $700 million, good for him.
I agree.
Well, yeah, I agree. Good for him.
I
have no problem with that, but I can also recognize that this is objectively a bad deal for the Dodgers, and it would be a bad deal for my team if they, made this deal with Shohei.
But
if Shohei can
they
get
have
it from
a bottomless
somebody,
budget,
great. And if he can get it from somebody not my team, now my team doesn't have to pay that. Even better.
It's not your
money.
It's
also not your money. Right, the only reason it would concern me is because it would affect other aspects of the team because they wouldn't spend money.
Well, yes.
The Yankees typically don't have the issue of shelling out the big bucks.
Fair.
So that's not really a concern for y'all.
No, and it's not a concern for the Dodgers either. Right?
So
what is the salary cap for the Dodgers?
Well, it's certainly not going to be
wherever they want to just get him.
Years while they're only counting $2 million of his salary against their cap. And so they can still pay up for other players. This is basically, to me, it's Shohei saying, the last team I was on was putrid.
Mm-hmm.
They were horribly run.
Mm-hmm.
I had absolutely no fun because we didn't win anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I want 10 World Series rings in the next 10 years.
Well, that's not going to happen because the Dodgers always choke. So, don't count on that.
No, not going to win all the World Series. It's not like
they have the money for it.
It's not like the Yankees before black people were allowed to play or something.
I'm just.
Or even the Yankees after black people were allowed to play.
A handful of black people were allowed to play.
This might be a little bit of a turn the TikTok camera on moment here, but I think people have gotten a little ahead of themselves with how truly on the field wins and losses valuable Shohei Ohtani is. They 100% have. Because they act like this is the greatest baseball player ever. He's not. I'm here to tell you, he's not.
Because y'all went to go get hot dogs when he hit that home run.
His WAR, he's never had a higher WAR season than Mike Trout's 3 highest. Mike Trout has been that good. And Mike Trout isn't even that guy in terms of wins above replacement. Barry Bonds put up bigger numbers than that. Roger Clemens as a pitcher put up better numbers. Pedro Martinez in his prime put up better numbers as one guy. Aaron Judge, your boy, won the MVP with a higher wins above replacement than Shohei's ever put up. So, I'm not saying he's not great. Not saying he's not going to the Hall of Fame. Not saying he's not amazing and fun to watch and a unicorn. I'm just saying people were proclaiming him to be the GOAT. He ain't the GOAT. Sorry. He's just not. I get it. He could do 2 things at a high level, but he doesn't do either of them at the highest level. So, sorry. Not the GOAT. He's not. That's objectively what the truth is. He's not the GOAT. So, and he's not going to be the GOAT with the Dodgers because he's not going to pitch. So, there you go. I have stunned the room into silence, apparently.
I'm just hungry.
Evan is apparently just hungry. Well, we got a whole show to do.
We still got a long way to go.
I'll try to move quickly for the sake of Evan's stomach. I do appreciate that sort of a reference to when you posted your picture in the Discord for the Buzz Bars guy.
Oh, yeah.
I promise I smile sometimes. I was just hungry.
Well, it's 400 degrees at Carowinds, too.
Okay, so let's move on to basketball. Let's do professional basketball. That's what I like to talk about more than the college stuff. But, of course, it's the regular season, which means the stuff that we actually talk about is nonsense at this time of year.
Yeah.
And so we'll start with door number 1 of nonsense, the ever-reliable Draymond Green.
Oh, yeah.
We'd be remiss if we didn't start with him.
Yes, Podmond Green. After serving a 5-game suspension for choking out Rudy Gobert unprovoked in a little bit of a fracas,
said, F it, I'll do it again.
he decided that he was going to slap the hell out of Yusuf Nurkic in the middle of a play. And now he's been suspended indefinitely, which we can't define because that's the exercise with indefinite suspensions. It sounds like, based on what Woj said, that there's going to be some level of counseling required. It sounds similar to what Ja Morant was supposedly going to go through last spring when he was having certain issues. How'd that work out for him? He went to Miami for like 2 weeks. He came back, and then he flashed a gun on somebody's Facebook Live or whatever, and he's been sitting for the first 25 games this year. So hopefully whatever they decide to do with Draymond is a little more hands-on than whatever they did with Ja, but it seems like he's going to be on the shelf for quite some time.
This is what should have happened after he tried to choke Rudy Gobert.
Yes, this is,
right.
Evan had said this. He should have been suspended for, I think you said 30 games.
The rest of the calendar year,
the rest of the
2023,
calendar year is what you
however
said.
many
And that was
games
back in
that
early
was.
November, so that was a lot of games.
So
And
speaking of Ja, what is the current status of him? Like, is there an end
yes,
to his suspension coming?
yes,
So it was 25 games.
it's 25
it should be
games, so it's
soon.
coming up real
okay.
soon. Yeah,
Okay.
You know,
Has he learned anything? He doesn't seem like the type of guy who learns stuff.
that's probably an astute observation, but who knows? I'm sure he'll learn to at least tell his buddy to put the camera away before he takes the gun out. You know, he's like, hey guy, I'm taking out the insert code word.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. But Draymond is the topic at hand here.
Yes.
This is his second suspension, his third ejection of the season already. His 18th career ejection puts him in sole
That's it?
possession of second place all time.
Behind Bobby Cox.
Well, Bobby
Basically.
Cox was in a different sport and was in a different position than Draymond Green. The all-time leader is Rasheed Wallace, who had 25 ejections. No surprise there. Rasheed
No,
was...
that's not a surprise at all.
Love Rasheed Wallace. Let me be clear.
Yes,
I
yeah,
love Rasheed
yeah.
Wallace, but
He's great.
you know,
but
that was what he did. He got thrown out of games. He typically didn't get thrown out of games for punching
Right,
people
he didn't
or
go
kicking
to
people
this
in the nuts.
extreme.
Or
He just
choking
typically
anybody.
he typically jawed at the refs until they kicked him out.
Yes.
Draymond does that plenty too.
Yeah.
But he gets thrown out for many other reasons. He got thrown out of a playoff game 2 seasons ago against the Grizzlies, and the Warriors came back and won somehow. But this is a disaster for Green because he's now in a position where he can't really make the case that he's helping the Warriors win because the Warriors aren't winning. Like, they're 10-13. They're currently occupying the 11th spot, and you need to be in the top 10 in order to at least qualify for the play-in. And from what it looks like, there are 11 competitive teams in the West, and there's 4 bottom feeders. Golden State is the 11th out of 11. But how long are they going to be competitive without Draymond Green, given the fact that Klay Thompson's playing poorly? He's another topic of conversation for them. The fact that Andrew Wiggins has had a terrible start to his season, right?
And there's a reason why when the Warriors needed a 3 late in the game earlier this week or last week.
It was last week.
They had Clay and Wiggins on the bench.
Oh.
Yeah, like both.
That is
That
telling.
was this week. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins both got benched late in the game.
For who? They don't have Jordan Poole anymore.
Well, I mean, I guess one of the guys who was on the court was
Gary Payton,
Paul.
The second.
Chris Paul.
Yeah, and they've also got some of the guys they've drafted this year have actually been pretty good, given the fact that they're rookies. But it's just interesting what the team's going to do. Like, Draymond, he still helps them win when he's on the floor, but he's not the same impact player, and the shenanigans have ramped up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he hasn't gotten smarter or more sensible as he's aged. He's gotten worse. He's leaned more into the BS than before because I feel like maybe he thinks that's the way he affects the game is by being a nuisance. And I'm like, dude, if you're at that point in your career,
You're at Patrick Beverly or Dylan Brooks
Also,
territory.
yeah, and
big
where are those
getting
guys
obnoxious.
playing? They're not. Dylan Brooks is in Houston. Like,
There's also a big difference between being a nuisance and just like punching a guy or slapping a guy, whatever you want to call it. That's not being a nuisance.
that's being a dirty player.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's not even basketball anymore, right? Like,
Being a nuisance is like acting like he's holding you and like, ref, come on,
Yeah.
look at me.
or
That's
I'm
being
not
a nuisance.
touching you.
Yeah.
Just do that.
yeah.
That too.
Yeah, Pat Beverly has cornered the market on that type of stuff. And you know, I love Pat Beverly. Let me be clear. I love him too because he's hilariously annoying. But yeah, Draymond has taken it a little too far. I think that
A little.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of blame to go around here though too. And obviously it all mostly resides with Draymond. He's responsible for his own actions. But the fact that this has come to this point, I think, you know, the NBA probably should have stepped in sooner after he.
I don't know what they're waiting on.
Yeah.
I also look at the coach.
I look at the Warriors organization as a whole. The fact that Draymond Green did not actually suffer any punishment for the fact that he knocked out a teammate in practice.
And send him to the Wizards.
Yeah, that also happened.
You should be punished for that too.
Yeah, like that is like, to me, the team didn't do anything. I thought the NBA should have considered stepping in there, but ultimately, since it happened at a private practice, it was the Warriors' responsibility to handle that situation, and they didn't do anything about it. They basically said, Draymond, take a couple weeks off. But they didn't want to suspend him for any games because then he wouldn't have been available for their ring night because they won the championship the previous summer. And they felt like it would have been wrong to have that without Draymond Green. I'm like, well, Draymond's responsible for his situation. There are consequences for his actions. He knocked out a
Called
teammate.
being an adult.
And guess what? Jordan Poole was on that team too. So it wasn't like Jordan Poole was out there just like some signed rookie off the street that Draymond decided to knock out. He was also a member of that championship team and a valuable one that season. It wasn't like he was just along for the ride. He played his part too. Some could argue at times he was playing better than Draymond was. Draymond got benched in the finals because he was playing so poorly for a 3-game stretch. Yep. So, it's just, it feels like Draymond has gotten away with all of this. And again, you got to lay some blame at Steph Curry's feet. Because Steph Curry and Draymond Green have always been in lockstep. That's always been the thing.
Steph's always been the guy who's like kind of standing up for Draymond, going back for him.
Yeah, he sticks up for Draymond, and generally it's been for a good reason. They're the best tandem in terms of plus minus of the last 25 years. Like that's how good they have been together, like over the last decade. So I get why Steph would go to bat for him, but at some point, man, you got to step in and say, hey, dude, like. Normally, just Steph Curry being Steph Curry gets people in line. Draymond is so far gone at this point that he's not getting in line. Steph needs to say something about this, whether it's to Draymond or whether it's to the front office and say, hey, this guy's got to get out of here.
Yeah. Evan mentioned he sent Jordan Poole to the Wizards, and if you believe in an eye for an eye, which I do, maybe a friend of the show, Sean Kennedy, has a point that Draymond should be sent to the Wizards.
Yes, banished to the Wizards.
I can't fathom seeing what Draymond
Pit of
Green,
misery, dilly.
what Draymond Green on a completely different team than Steph Curry. Like we've seen how he acts when Steph leaves a game due to injury or is unavailable, whatever. He goes out of his way to get kicked out. What's he gonna do if he has to play with Jordan Poole again?
Got ourselves a Donnybrook.
He's just gonna quit and go work on TNT, like because he's got a contract with them as soon as he retires. I'm sure they're gonna honor that because Draymond's content, but. He's taken it up a level in ridiculousness so far this year, and it was already really ridiculous before. So
you said he had 18 ejections, and the record's 25.
Yeah,
he's gonna get there.
He's breaking that.
If he's ever let off of this indefinite suspension, he's gonna get
right.
there.
He does have to be allowed to play basketball.
If he never comes back, then obviously he won't be able to break that. But okay, so we've got some other basketball news. Corey, you put in here Fight Night in Milwaukee. I'm assuming this has to do with Giannis trying to get his basketball.
This has to do with the Pacers stealing the game ball away from the winning team and the Milwaukee security office having to step in and go and retrieve the ball from the Pacers.
Big Dom or somebody.
To give it back to Milwaukee so that they could give it to Giannis, who set the all-time franchise record for points in a game.
Now, that did happen, and the Bucks did have a guy named Lou Alcindor and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar playing on their team, so, that's a pretty big accomplishment for Giannis, who scored 64 points last night. Was that last night or 2 nights ago? I don't remember.
I think it
might have been 2 nights ago.
I don't remember.
But all I know is that, unfortunately, Giannis became a meme out of it because the video footage of him sprinting down the tunnel, like to try to go retrieve the basketball himself, was comical.
It is silly. Like he went to get it himself.
Yeah.
But he did. What are the Pacers doing? Taking the game ball in a game that they lost on the road court to give it to their player who has been playing for a few weeks now, who finally got a bucket.
Yeah, Oscar Tshiebwe scored his first
this
basket.
This guy from Kentucky who finally scored.
From Kentucky?
Yeah.
And he's not very good?
He's not good. Yeah, it's weird. I know. It's a strange development, but
okay.
And of course somebody wrote a lengthy, bleeding heart piece about how this guy, came from Africa and he's worked real hard. I'm like, okay, but Giannis grew up broke as hell too, and he scored 64, so give him the ball. What are we talking about here, man? I don't get it. I don't really care because it's a basketball. Giannis doesn't believe he actually got the game ball because he says it feels different. I'm like, it's a basketball, dude. Just take it and go. Like, this isn't the biggest accomplishment of your career. You won a championship, right? So you don't need to prop this up. I don't think that the 64-point game ball is going to be at the front of the trophy case. I'm just saying. It's going to be okay.
It might have been if it was the real one.
Yeah, well, now it's going to be right in the back. It might be sitting in the dumpster by the end of the night. But, yeah, just kind of silliness all around there. Congratulations to Giannis, though. 64 points is insane. And, he's been fantastic this year. Very much in the MVP conversation once again. We'll see how that goes, obviously, in April. We got a long way to go. But, yeah, that's all we got there. Last bit of news, NBA related. I just put this here because didn't really know where else to put it. The Wizards, who we have made fun of tonight and frequently on this show.
Mm-hmm.
As they deserve.
Yes.
Yeah.
May no longer be for the district, as their hashtag says. They may be moving to Northern Virginia, specifically Potomac Yard, along with the Washington Capitals, at the behest of Ted Leonsis, who wants to build a fancy new arena out there just across the Potomac. And I think I've said this to you guys on here before. I've said it certainly to people I know. I have zero, and I cannot emphasize enough, zero interest in rooting for a Northern Virginia team. I will not do it. I won't do it.
You don't want to root for the Frednats?
No, I don't want to. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not doing it.
Even if they're representing
They're
the
not,
Capitol
though.
still?
They left.
Mm-hmm.
They're gone. They're across the river.
Yeah.
They're a Northern Virginia team
Looks
now.
booth or
Okay.
somebody.
The Commanders are not a DC team.
I don't like that either.
Yeah.
But at least they were in my home state.
Fair.
Okay. But I don't like the fact that they played in Raljon. I wasn't, old enough to remember when the Caps and the Wizards played at the Cap Center over in Landover, but I don't like that either. I want the team in DC. That's the hub. And there's going to be a lot of alienated Maryland and DC fans here because Virginia, while it's right across the Potomac, it's not the same culture. It's not the same vibe. The center of the DMV is the D.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you should congregate to watch your favorite sports team.
I don't really care too much about that aspect just because, like, in a sense, it's a little bit of a fair is fair deal where, like, Northern Virginia fans of the football team were probably alienated when they came to PG County.
And if they had a beef with that, I would agree with them.
Right. So, like, that part, I'm like, whatever. The bigger thing for me is, if... Not that I was going to Wizards games, and not that I really went to Caps games. Like, the only one I've been to is still, my 21st birthday when we went.
That was a while ago.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
It was 10 years, more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
But, I would go to a Caps game. Like, if I got invited to a Caps game or whatever, like, I would go to one. I'm not making a trip to Northern Virginia to see a game. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It becomes a commute issue, like, especially now that I'm living in Laurel. I could still get down to Capital One Arena in 45 minutes if I wanted
It's
to.
especially hilarious that the DC Metro literally this week announced that they were closing down like 10 of their stops on the Metro. And
One of
them
which was
is
Potomac Yard.
the
Yeah.
Potomac Yard one.
Why?
Because
of
I guess
funding or
low
whatever.
ridership
Yeah.
or whatever. They were averaging like, I forget if it was per week or per day, but it was like 2,000 riders or whatever. And whatever, it was a very low number apparently for that place. And I guess some people are assuming that they're going to reopen when they move down there, but then why even bother closing in the first place?
It doesn't make any sense.
It's very strange.
So, again, though,
But then he's also hoping to have the Mystics playing at Capital One Arena.
so the WNBA team's going to stay in the city, but the NBA team's going to leave the city?
And the NBA and the NHL team are going to get the nice new state-of-the-art facility while, the WNBA team gets, this old place that
It's not a bad spot.
It's not a bad spot. It's not. But it's not going to be as nice as the new spot.
Okay, but
The
again,
first rule of real estate is location, location, location.
Sure.
Okay. And Northern Virginia is not a good location for anything. In particular, a group of people congregating for an event. That sounds like a nightmare. The traffic alone. This is just like the Braves, what they did moving to the suburbs with the white flight situation. It's kind of obnoxious, and we've proven over time that suburban stadiums don't work for development, right? Like, the stadiums that were built sort of in the middle of nowhere to try to get more stuff and people out there, they've since been demolished, and there's still nothing there.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring that point up because it brings, my attention to, or my thought, I should say, to the Atlanta Braves. Right. What if they don't, reopen the Potomac Yard? What if this has something to do with, we want to make this more difficult for people who rely on public transit to get to the stadium?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you're not.
I don't love that.
You're not gonna have any fans in there. Like,
they'll have some fans, just not any of a certain type of fans.
Yeah, but I realize that a lot of the fans of the Washington Capitals are certainly from Virginia, but a huge contingent of the Wizards fan base that is admittedly dormant right now because the Wizards are awful is from Maryland and D.C. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of D.C. residents that are not willing to cross the Potomac to go, watch a team in Virginia. They have that viewpoint that that's not a welcoming place for them.
Yeah.
Same thing for a lot of Marylanders. And again, to me, though, I live in the state of Maryland. I've always been a little bit torn between which city represents me more, D.C. or Baltimore. And I've always leaned towards D.C. because that's where I'm from, the DMV. I'm from this.
We're from PG County, and PG County borders D.C. We're right there. There's no part of PG County that borders Baltimore directly.
No, but at this point, if you're occupying Virginia, I don't really see you the same way. Yeah. I don't view you as my hometown. Yeah. I view you as a place next to my hometown. Mm-hmm. To me, at this point, I root for the Orioles, right? I ditched the commodes. I have
flushed the commodes.
I root for the friggin' Ravens more than I root for the commodes by a long shot. And I know that there's never going to be professional basketball probably in my lifetime in Baltimore because they have to build an adequate arena and they have shown no desire to do that. But if they actually put a basketball team and or a hockey team in Baltimore, that would be my new team. Period. End of story.
It's funny you say that because I hadn't really thought about it, but I also find myself rooting for the Ravens more than the Commodes these days, and I never thought that would be the case.
Oh, y'all used to call them the Ratbirds and stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, hated them.
Yeah,
hated them.
I saw that.
Hated them. Yeah,
I don't remember ever calling them that.
I did.
You did?
Of course I did. Yeah. Well, it didn't help that I already had another Dirty Bird team that I rooted against.
Oh yeah,
Falcons. So it's easy to just kind of transmit that hate over to the Ravens too. Ravens fans were mean to me.
There's also the Eagles. Too, so. Hated them.
Yeah, the Dirty Birds team. Didn't like them. Did not like the Eagles.
What about the Cardinals?
Yeah, don't like the Cardinals either.
The Cardinals.
Is it the century of incompetence?
Is because of how putrid they've been throughout their entire history.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Like the fact that they've been around for 100 years, and you would assume they're an expansion team because they got no history.
Like, I hated Jake Plummer for so long. They went to the Broncos. I was like, you know what? Jake Plummer's actually kind of cool. I like Jake Plummer. I liked him with the Broncos, but
shout out Jake Plummer.
When he was with the Cardinals, I was like, "Ew, Jake Plummer." Ew, the Cardinals.
Well, I think it's just because their helmets are so plain looking, like they're like a like an egg. It's just white and round.
I never really liked the shape of Larry Fitzgerald's helmet on his head. It always looked very strange.
Well, now we're on to that. So, let's refocus.
I just think it's the color and style of it is ugly, but.
It does look like an egg, though. It's like off-white.
Yeah.
It's not great. I consider I said it looks like it's tooth white, but it's kind of gross looking.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah. So again, not a fan of this move that's potentially going to happen. Again, no shade to anybody from Virginia. You guys should be thrilled about this if this makes life easier for you. Although for a lot of them it doesn't either, because
there's not enough traffic over there.
Yeah, so it's not like it really makes life that much easier for Virginia residents either. And for people who are saying, well, it's only a 15 minute metro ride from Gallery Place where they currently play. I'm like, nobody lives in Gallery Place.
Right.
So what difference does that mean? So you're just saying it's an additional 15 minutes for me to ride the metro, which I already don't like to do because that takes me close to an hour and a half to get to town anyway. So now you got to tack on another 15 minutes, and that's assuming that it'll actually stop there. And I have to switch trains? 3 lines.
You have to switch trains at Gallery Place, no less.
Yeah, 3 lines go through Gallery Place.
Yep.
So, it doesn't make any sense for the fans. It makes all the sense in the world, apparently, to Ted Leonsis. And it's his money, and he gets to call the shots. So, but that doesn't mean I have to like it or participate in the nonsense. So, sorry, Wiz, and frankly, sorry, Caps. Like, I'll hang on until Ovechkin's done, but by the time they move, he'll be done anyway. But I'm not going to have the same level of interest following that hockey team if they're not accessible to me.
At least we got the FBI headquarters.
Who cares? All right, so let's move on to college. You guys talked college football pretty thoroughly last week.
Yeah.
Just one thing I wanted to say, Corey, you mentioned the fact that Florida State got removed from the top 4 despite winning against a better team by the rankings than Texas did.
Mm-hmm.
But what was not mentioned was style points matter. And Florida State kind of struggled to win that game.
Yeah.
And Texas curb stomped their opponent.
Yeah.
And Florida State kind of had to do a little bit of an audition because of the quarterback situation, and they didn't really pass. Like
they certainly didn't pass offensively, but I can respect the defense did,
Sure.
and defense wins championships. When you got a defense that is dealing with an offense that can't move the ball, and they still shut down the other team, who was better than the team that Texas played. They gave up fewer points to their opponent than Texas gave up. I still count that as Florida State looked better than Texas, in my opinion.
Oh.
If you replaced Texas with Florida State in the Sugar Bowl, how do you think the line would move?
Well, what is the line right now for Texas versus Washington?
I actually don't know off the top of my head, but I will look it up.
But we know how it would move.
It would certainly move towards Washington would be a bigger favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Unquestionably. Without a doubt in my mind. Like, if you could rank Florida State just based off of what you saw, based off of the 2 games they had without Jordan Travis, they wouldn't make the top 10. They wouldn't. They would not be in the top 10. They wouldn't be ahead of Georgia or LSU or Ole Miss. They just wouldn't. So
I mean, that ACC championship game was a tough watch, right? Like, neither team could play offense.
I felt like Georgia should have been in over both Florida State and Texas.
What?
I'm sorry. Yeah, over both Florida State, Texas. Yeah, like I thought Georgia should have been in.
Why?
They lost the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
Alabama lost an SEC regular season game.
They lost to Texas, who's not in the SEC yet.
That's true. That starts next year. Anyway, I wrote my article about it.
Yes, you did.
Corey read it. He edited it a little bit because didn't have to do too much, which I was impressed with because I did it on my phone at 3 a.m. So
yeah, I barely had to touch it.
Yeah, that's good news. But thank you for reading it and posting it. By the way, that was much appreciated because I was not able to do that on my phone. I'm like, this is going to be impossible on here.
Yeah, but I'm gonna work my off-season project this year. I think is gonna be to set up a new website for us through Google Sites and try and port at least all our major articles over to that. It'll be a lot easier to publish things there because bloggers' options as far as styling and formatting are trash at this point. They're very outdated and they have not kept up with the times.
All right, so Maryland football facing Auburn in the Music City Bowl.
Ooh.
You guys mentioned that last week.
Yep.
I'm going to go.
Shout out to fan of the podcast, James Daly, an Auburn grad. So,
I
y'all should put down a couple dollars.
I think, Corey, you
go
underestimated
to the
Terps'
game.
chances last week. But I understand why, because it's the Terps, and they kind of deserve it. But Auburn's not that good. Maryland has certainly had their share of close losses to good teams, too. But
Auburn lost to New Mexico State.
Maryland lost to Northwestern.
I mean, at least that's a conference game.
They also lost to Illinois on homecoming.
At least that's a conference game.
Yeah, but even so, those are ugly losses. Anyway, so let's move to college basketball real quick. Start with my Terps. They improved to 6-4 on. That was 2 nights ago. It's not Wednesday. We normally do this on Wednesday, but this is Thursday. They beat Alcorn State.
Were you there?
Yeah. Where's Alcorn
I thought
State?
you weren't going.
I went.
Oh.
Where's Alcorn State, guys? Anybody know?
I would guess Nebraska.
It's in Alabama.
It's Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's where Steve McNair went. That's the only fun fact about.
Steve McNair went to Alcorn State. Okay.
They beat Alcorn State. They crushed them because Alcorn State's bad, but they at least made some threes, which was nice to see. Maybe that can translate, but probably not. But a bigger game that they had was last week when I did not go to because I was in
Parts
Aruba.
unknown.
Yes, and
With Sidney Ponson.
no Sidney Ponson.
Oh,
that would have been a good time though.
It would have been, yeah.
I would have been really excited to spend a little time with the ponderous Son. That would be nice. All right, so Terps beat Penn State in overtime. Corey said it was a shocking win. I don't agree, but still overtime against Penn State.
I feel like any Maryland win right now is a shocking win.
Maryland has not lost a home game in a long
They have
time,
not.
so you got to keep that in mind. That gym provides a lot of juice for that team. Evan, your Yellow Jackets beat Alabama A&M, which is apparently a thing, 70-49, and then they play Penn State on Saturday for some reason. Why are you guys playing Penn State?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Just trying to pretend like the ACC Big Ten Challenge is on between the teams that never made the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Well, I mean, my first year at Tech, our ACC Big Ten Challenge opponent was Penn State.
Oh, okay. How'd you guys do?
We lost.
Oh, that's not good.
I was there. Yeah,
Penn
we
State's
lost.
Again, correcting the record, Maryland lost to Indiana on the road, so I was not there to witness that because I didn't teleport to Bloomingdale, nor would I ever want to because, Jesus.
I mean, imagine
isn't
if
it
you went to...
Bloomington?
It is Bloomington.
Nah,
Yeah.
whatever. It doesn't matter. It's in Indiana. I go to one place in Indiana, and it ain't there. I go to Santa Claus. That's it. Anyway, let's move on to... I got some ranked matchups. Oh, but Evan, have you watched Georgia Tech basketball at all?
No.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about it much more after that. Sorry. We got Friday action. Number 5, UConn. At number 10, Gonzaga. That'll be a big game. UConn's coming off back-to-back wins, including an 11-point win against North Carolina, who's ranked 9th. Gonzaga beat Mississippi Valley State, which, again, is apparently a thing.
Isn't that where Jerry Rice went?
Sounds reasonable. Corey, you can be the stat boy and look it up. After they lost to unranked Washington, so the Zags are kind of...
Yep, he went to Mississippi Valley State. Very good at it.
Nice.
Nice.
A little shaky for Gonzaga, which doesn't break my heart because I don't like Mark Few.
Same.
Saturday, 4 p.m. on Peacock. I won't say what I wanted to say. Arizona.
Keep that to our chats.
Number 1 Arizona is 8-0 at number 3 Purdue. Purdue lost to Northwestern a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
I know.
Yeah, they've won 2 since then.
We are all massive Zach Edey haters because
Yes.
we all were podcasting as we watched number 1 Purdue.
Future world's tallest accountant, according to Sean Kennedy.
I was gonna.
Can he do that?
Like, is he smart enough to be an
Yeah,
accountant? I don't know.
yeah.
I gave him insurance.
He seems like a big lummox to me. Like
That's,
he's just...
that's what I called him. You stole my bit.
But, seems like he's just big. I don't know what his other talents are. Because basketball, I don't know that
not
that's
one
on
of
the
them.
list.
He was Naismith Player of the Year last year.
Why?
Because nobody else is.
There's
good at
nobody
college-
else
because
playing
it's
it.
college basketball. College basketball sucks.
Particularly men's college basketball.
If you're a good basketball player, you don't go
Go
play
to the
college
league.
basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you're there for a cup of tea and then you go to the league. Right? Like, what are we talking about here? Okay, so Arizona's already beaten number 2 Duke, who's no longer number 2, and number 21 Michigan State, who was bad.
Yeah, they're not 21 anymore.
Yeah,
they're not
they
even ranked.
suck. They were 4 at the start of the year. They lost a bye game right out of the gate. Like,
I think they have the worst record to start a season of anybody ranked in the preseason top 5, like ever.
yeah, they've been terrible.
Pathetic.
Wasn't Louisville ranked really high last year and they lost all their games?
Yeah, Maryland played them, I think, in the challenge and
Waxed them.
destroyed them on the road in the KFC
At the Yum Center?
Arena. Yeah, Yum Center, whatever it's called. Yeah,
Yeah, we
Love
drove
that.
right by it.
Yeah, and didn't stop at Kentucky Kingdom because we had better places to be.
Drove right by that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say in Purdue's defense, as far as losing to Northwestern, that was pretty soon after they had beaten Gonzaga,
Yeah.
Tennessee, and Marquette back to back to back. All of them were ranked top 11 in the country at the time that they played those games.
Yeah, they played a really tough
So,
tournament, yeah.
I think that can be one of those situations where, you look past this opponent that you think that you're, going to wipe the floor with anyway, and you're also a little bit exhausted after playing 3 tough opponents.
Well, Northwestern's got some good players on the team, and they got their asses last year.
Yeah,
in
so
Evanston,
that's not going to be a game that I'm like, oh my god, like Purdue is awful because of that.
No.
I'm going to be like, oh, Purdue is awful because their best player is Zach Edey.
We're never going to forget.
No.
It's like Rudy Gobert shutting down the world with COVID. He can win as many Defensive Player of the Year awards as he wants. He can win some championships because the Timberwolves look really good. He's always going to be COVID guy.
Just like Edey is going to be lost to the number 16 seed guy.
The shortest team in the tournament while 7-4, and they lost. Supposedly the best player in the country.
Who did they even lose to? Because I
Fairfield?
Was it Fairleigh Dickinson?
It was Fairleigh Dickinson.
Something like that.
It's Fairleigh Dickinson who. One of my
Where is
places to
that?
Go to. It's in it's
Connecticut?
It's in New Jersey, just outside of New York.
Ah.
Okay.
I've got an athlete who's gonna be going there next year.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Purdue with a bunch of big wins, but that was a tough loss. That knocks them from the number 1 spot. And then Saturday on CBS, number 9 North Carolina at number 14 Kentucky. I feel like these teams should play more. You know, you don't really hear as much about Kentucky versus North
I feel
Carolina.
like all the Blue Bloods should play each other every season.
Yeah.
You know, like UNC, Kentucky, Kansas, and Duke. They should always
Don't
play
they have
against each other.
that not really a tournament, but that special that they did in Chicago, and they have the college football rankings in between the two games.
I don't know
Thought they-
what you're
Sure,
talking
maybe.
about, but sure.
I'll
Okay.
take your
Yeah,
word for it.
That already exists.
Okay, well, I want to see more of that, I guess. I don't know. North Carolina lost to UConn, as I mentioned. They face number 11 Oklahoma next Wednesday. And Kentucky beat, like, the University of Pennsylvania, like the Ivy League school?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. That came after a really bad loss to UNC Wilmington.
Not great.
Yeah. If you can't beat UNC Wilmington, can you beat Chapel Hill?
Well, they've beaten then number 8 Miami and lost to Kansas, who's now number 2. Who's number 1 again? Oh, Arizona, right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk the ladies real quick. Lady Terps are 8-3 after beating Northwestern and Towson over the past several days. I don't know how good Northwestern is. I imagine Towson is bad.
Yeah, they're both bad, but still, you know, Terps had a really rough start to the season. They fell out of the rankings for the first time since 2013. Now they've won 6 in a row, all of them at home, and they have another home game coming up against James Madison next week. And they have a long break before they continue their Big Ten schedule against Nebraska and Minnesota. I think the Nebraska game is on New Year's Eve or maybe the day before. But you know, we'll see if they can get back into the top 25. Obviously, like, beating Northwestern, Towson is not really going to move that needle a whole lot. But you know, if you continue to win and a couple other teams slip up, then you know maybe you just kind of move back in.
You just kind of sneak in there.
Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. But it's good to see
football.
them.
That's how they always get ranked.
Yeah, it's good to see them kind of coming, you know, getting things back together, even if it is against bad opponents. Hopefully it carries into the tougher parts of the schedule.
Evan, your Lady Jackets, are they called that? They're called the Lady Jackets?
I went to one of their games once.
Okay, so I shouldn't even bother
Yeah,
asking.
I don't know.
Well,
That didn't answer the question at all.
We won.
That still doesn't answer the question. But
Beat the dogs. You know.
So they played Georgia State and beat them 94-70 to improve to 7-3. They play
the dogs.
arch rival, I guess, Georgia in basketball. Do y'all even care?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we win that one sometimes.
Sure. You play them Saturday in Athens. And then, of course, headliners, number 1 South Carolina and number 2 UCLA and beat ranked opponents on Sunday. They did not face each other. South Carolina beat number 11 Utah, and UCLA beat number 20 Florida State. Both beat them. South Carolina won by 9, and UCLA won by 17. Fun matchup last night between number 19 Marquette and number 20 Creighton. Corey, did you watch this game?
I actually did catch a little bit of the fourth quarter. So I saw that it was a 1-point game and going into the fourth quarter. So the Marquette Golden Eagles remained undefeated. They're 10-0 on the season. They were down by 1 going into the fourth quarter and wound up winning by 6. So really nice fourth quarter for Marquette. But yeah, it was a fun matchup.
So more drama down there in the Bayou. Kateri Poole is no longer with LSU. Coach Kim Mulkey, who quite a character herself.
Yes, she is.
Didn't elaborate on reasons, though she'd spoken previously about quote-unquote locker room issues. This is the second player who's taking a leave of absence from the team. We know that Angel Reese missed some time early on for undisclosed reasons. has been suggested it had to do with grades, but that's also been rebutted by people, so we don't really know.
In any case, LSU played McNeese State on Tuesday night. They won 133-44, so they set a school record for points and a school record for margin of victory.
LSU feels a little bit like a soap opera team, right? Like last year they won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Angel Reese kind of became a face of women's basketball. Probably not the face. That's still Caitlin Clark. But
She's making a whole lot of NIL money.
her profile
Good.
went through the roof
Oh, yeah.
as a result of being great and also kind of being mean, which is fine.
I mean, sometimes to be great, you got to be mean.
Sure, I agree. But and then of course, LSU added Haley Van Lith to their roster this year, and she's great, and also somebody that gets under people's skin.
Oh, no.
I thoroughly enjoy watching her play. She's a lot of fun. Yeah, they.
I would
crushed.
have a lot more fun watching this team if it wasn't for Mulkey. I just don't like Mulkey.
Well, Kim Mulkey's just enough said. I think we've discussed her character or lack thereof frequently on this show. So.
Yes.
So upcoming ranked matchups on the ladies' side, 18 Louisville, that's where Haley Van Lith came from.
Yes.
At number 17 UConn. UConn's not good. What's going on, man?
Yeah, they've really struggled this year. They've played, I think, 3 teams that are ranked higher than 20, and they've lost all 3 games.
Tough.
So yeah, they're still looking for a top 20 win, and this could be it against Louisville, albeit barely. But yeah. So Louisville, meanwhile, has beaten Ole Miss, who was ranked 19th at the time. That was a road game. I think Ole Miss has fallen completely out of the rankings since then, but yeah. So that's the one kind of big win on Louisville's schedule so far.
So I haven't watched a whole lot of UConn basketball this year. I know Paige is back, but is she like back?
She is back, but she's not.
She's not playing
Back,
at that level.
back.
yet,
She's
yeah,
not
so-
playing at that level that we're used to seeing Paige.
So
Beckers
she'll
play
probably
at.
round into form as the season goes on, and all like.
You hope
she's
so.
coming off an ACL tear.
You hope so, but yeah, I mean that's a tough injury to come back from, and I haven't really seen like. I don't feel like she's been like progressing,
Okay.
which is what makes me a little bit nervous about whether she's going to get back to that form. But
Some people need a whole season.
Yeah,
too,
some
like-
people never do. Some people just takes a lot longer. Certainly you hope that she does, just because she's a really talented basketball player.
Yep.
And even though I have no love for UConn's women's basketball team, like I don't wish ill on any of the individual players. Sure. It's more of a Gino Ariema thing. I just don't like him.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's tough sledding right now because you don't like Gino, you don't like Kim Mulkey. So,
Right.
Yeah. So, you like Dawn Staley though, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Love Dawn
good.
Staley. Yeah. She's great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like where you.
She's done absolutely nothing to draw my ire.
That's good. Hopefully it stays that way, or else you're gonna have a hard time watching the tournament.
Yeah.
All right. So another big game Saturday at 5 p.m. Big 12. What's
It's on the Big 12 network.
Big 12. They have a network?
I guess.
I didn't know that. Okay, well, there you go. Number 24, Miami, who is not in the Big 12, is playing number 7, Baylor, who is in the Big 12.
Yes.
Miami's previous game against a ranked opponent, they played number 21, Mississippi State. Did they win that game?
Yeah.
Well, they had to, 'cause
they're
they're
undefeated.
undefeated.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. Both of
And-
these teams are undefeated.
Baylor beat then number 4, Utah, who's fallen to 11, and their second game of the year and hasn't faced a ranked opponent since. So a little bit of a, get a test type of game for two teams that have kind of been on easy street for the most part.
Yeah.
Monday, 6:30 p.m. Number 2 UCLA, who is 9-0 versus number 12 Ohio State, who's 8-1. UCLA's first road game versus a ranked opponent. They have beaten number 6 UConn, who's coming off a win against Florida State. Those are both home games, and this says OSU, so I was about to say Oklahoma State, but this is Ohio State, the Ohio State, as they like to say.
Yeah.
They lost their season opener to USC, and they've won 8 straight since, including a win against number 20 Tennessee. So,
Yeah, and I mean that loss to USC seemed bad at the time because they were ranked 21, but they've climbed to number 6 in the rankings. So that's definitely going to look much better on Ohio State's resume as we get deeper into the season.
Sure.
They're going to be an interesting team to watch, I think, when we get to the tournament.
All right. Well, we know that the ladies' tournament has become much
Better
more
than the
must-watch
men's
TV
tournament.
than the men's at times. So,
It has like story to it, right? There's, like heroes and villains and whatever. And
Well, and there's players that actually come back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the big thing. Is like Angel Reese. Normally, an Angel Reese on the men's side would have been in the NBA this year.
Right.
Same thing with Caitlin Clark. Same thing with Haley Van Lith. Like, they all would have just bounced.
But on the women's side, honestly, you kind of want to stay in the college team as long as you can, especially now that you can get NIL money because, otherwise you're in Siberia.
Angel Reese is making more money now as a college athlete than she will playing in the WNBA, at least based on her salary. So, that's something to keep in mind.
Heck, at this point, she might be making more than she would make playing in the WNBA and playing in literal Siberia.
Yeah,
Well, I doubt she's going to Siberia.
No, although they do it.
Even now?
Yeah. What do you think? Brittany Griner got arrested in Russia because she was playing basketball in Russia.
But since then, there's still when America's going.
There's still money
Russia?
to be made.
Yeah.
In European countries, they pay more than the WNBA does. So.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that wraps our college basketball coverage for the week. So let's get on to football. I guess we'll start with the Ravens. They've got some announcements about stadium upgrades to M&T Bank.
Yes, they're adding a bunch of stuff and fan group areas, and they're adding a suite and sort of like a private club and all that fancy stuff that newer stadiums have.
I guess you could say the same for the Commodes then, because they're also going to be adding suites, I believe, because they moved all of the front offices to down the street from here, over to Riverdale Park, and
from Ashburn.
No, from
Raja.
FedEx Field.
Yeah.
Why
And
do
so
they have
I think
offices in there?
They have offices there.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I guess the idea is
Sewage
that they
was
can
leaking.
use those spaces for suites
Okay.
that nobody will buy.
My understanding, though, is that I imagine that Josh Harris shares a similar ambition that the former guy did of wanting to move either back to D.C. or, God forbid, down to friggin' Dumfries or something like that.
Fredericksburg.
Yeah. But the bottom line is that they don't want to be in Landover anymore. They don't want to. They want FedEx Field to go the way of the dodo, and they want to have a new stadium either in DC or somewhere else.
I think a lot of Landover residents would say good riddance.
I agree. Football stadiums are not a good investment for that type of thing. Evan mentioned the economic boon that is supposed to come from building a stadium.
That didn't happen.
It did not happen, and it doesn't happen with football stadiums because they don't provide enough.
The only thing of value that PG County or that community got from Washington moving to Landover with FedEx Field was the sports and learning complex.
Yeah, but there's just,
and even that was less to do with the command. I mean, it only happened because the football team moved there, but it was much more like Wayne Curry and Larry Colbert and people like that who advocated for that building to get put up.
And only 8 or 9 home games a year. If you make the post, maybe get a couple more. And then there's not really any way you can repurpose the stadium for a whole lot of things when the football team's not playing.
Yeah.
What else do you use?
Concerts.
I went to a concert there this summer.
Okay, but they have
see Beyonce.
They have concerts there, but the only acts that book shows like that are people as big as Beyonce.
Well, yeah.
Most even really famous bands or acts, they perform at 17, 18,000.
Yeah, like basketball arenas, things like that.
You see more concerts at Capital One Arena by far than you will ever see over at Raljon.
Yeah.
You just don't. It's
because you don't need that big of a space unless you're going to sell that many seats, and there's only a few acts that can do that.
You can probably count. There's probably maybe 20 acts that can book a stadium. Metallica could do that.
Sure.
Guns N' Roses can do that.
Sure.
Beyonce and Taylor Swift can do that. The Rolling Stones can do that. But
and I mean they host a Premier League game every year. I don't know if it's an actual. Yeah, I don't know if it's an actual game or an exhibition game, but
it doesn't matter.
This is America. Come on.
There's a surprisingly large number of people who care when it's the Premier League over MLS.
I got you.
The Premier League.
But
nauseating.
I'm not one of those people.
Are you gonna call it the Prem?
But I recognize that there are people who exist.
So how many events do they have at FedEx Field a year?
Outside of the football games, probably you could definitely count them on 2 hands and maybe on 1.
There you go. So it's less than 20 for the whole year, including the football games. So it sucks. And the stadium's terrible, and the team's terrible. So just get them out of here. All right, Evan, your team
Yes.
beat the Rams in overtime
Mm-hmm.
in a game that had me pacing in my living room for the entirety of the fourth quarter and overtime.
Oh,
Me,
Okay.
not you. I'm sure you were.
I just had my head in my hands. I'm like, was this? We know how this is going. Yeah. So the Ravens won against the Rams in overtime on a walk-off punt return, sort of out of nowhere. So Tylan Wallace was the punt returner. This was his first ever punt return in the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah.
You made it count.
He
Yeah.
sure
He took it
did.
to the house. He
Helped your fantasy team, Eric. Didn't
Not
help
enough.
You, didn't help you
Oh,
win.
no.
okay.
He still lost by a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so he was had been having a rough day on special teams. He was off sides one time on like a 4th and 4 when the Rams were punting. So that 5 yards gave the Rams a first down, and they scored a touchdown on that drive.
Well, that's why they put him at punt returner, so he wouldn't be anywhere near the line of scrimmage.
But I was told that
Devin Duvernay, the regular punt returner, got hurt.
I was told that John Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator, so that meant that all the special teams guys were good.
Oh, well, that don't mean
That's the
nothing.
reason Why?
Yeah, that don't mean nothing.
Y'all should hire Danny Smith. He would get it together.
Who was
I don't know
that?
who that is.
He was Washington's special teams coordinator for a long time. He was a really good special teams coordinator.
Sure, that's nice.
Yeah. So,
I wanted him to be the next head coach when instead they went with Jim Zorn.
oh,
I mean,
Show
he
your stuff
probably
and
would have
drink
been
milk.
better than Jim Zorn. but
He
that's-
absolutely would have been
but
better
that
than
doesn't
Jim Zorn.
mean anything. Jim Zorn's tenure was an unmitigated disaster. So
Including the best play in NFL history, swinging gate. Oh yeah, baby.
I feel like the Colts topped that with whatever
That's
they
true.
did.
Anyway,
yeah.
Okay, we can agree though. The play of this game was the Lamar Jackson touchdown pass, right?
Oh my God.
That was that. I
That
jumped
was
out
insane.
Of my seat. I could not believe
It was
that
3rd and 17, right? Lamar's about to get sacked because, of course, he is. Nobody's blocking for him. He does some sort of spin and just throws a laser right to the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! This,
that was
this is
insane.
why we paid this guy $250 million.
yeah.
He can do stuff like that. Still waiting on Kyle Bowler for him to do anything
You're waiting
special.
a long time.
Yeah, he's
He's
just
still waiting too.
yeah, he's just married to former Miss California. That's
Well,
really
he's-
about it.
He's moved on to bigger, better things. He's not sweating whatever some random Baltimorean thinks about his
Yeah,
play.
on a
15 years
podcast.
ago, yeah.
Oh boy.
Podcast that does not
Yeah.
have a lot
So
of listeners. So
yeah, Lamar showed that he's in fact a special player. The Ravens defense is supposed to be so great, keeps getting toasted. Puka Nakua's wide open. Cooper Kupp is wide open.
boy,
Matthew Stafford's not getting pressured at all. They're just marching right down the field. Kyron Williams. The Rams started the game with 9 consecutive runs up the middle.
right up the gut.
Yeah, and they got all the way inside the 10-yard line, and then they decided, you know what, we'll just pass it now. And they throw 3 incomplete passes and kick a field goal.
It sounds like the Durs used to do back in the day. They just run Clinton Portis all over the team, and then we got inside the red zone. Time to throw it with Jason Campbell with no receivers and no offensive line.
Hands down the worst red zone offense in NFL history.
So bad.
Yeah, so great
Jason
to get
Campbell.
great to get a win. And a lot of things played out in the Ravens' favor in addition to this game. So the Browns beat the Jaguars, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then the Bengals beat the Colts. So had the Ravens fallen apart late in the season, they could end up in a tiebreaker situation with the Colts. And that was one of the Ravens' 3 losses this year was Indy.
I gotta say, it was pretty frustrating on the red zone when because the Bengals were wearing their black uniforms and the Browns were wearing their typical brown uniforms, and they were playing the Colts and the Jags, and the Jags were wearing white, I believe, and the Colts were wearing white. It looked like the same game, and I was like, "What the hell am I watching now? Who's ahead?" It was confusing me so much, and but I didn't love that.
Yeah, and then I guess we'll get to this a little later in our surprises. The Titans somehow went to Miami and won. What?
How they won was more surprising than the fact that they won. And the fact that they won was surprising.
Yeah, so wasn't expecting that. So a lot of things broke in the Ravens' favor. I don't think there's a way to clinch the number 1 seed before the last week of the season, unless some other teams lose, right? Like if
Did the Ravens play the Dolphins this year?
that's coming up
Okay,
the
you
week
guys got
after
it.
Christmas. Yeah, that game is in Baltimore, but the last time the Dolphins played in Baltimore, that
I remember.
didn't go so great. Yeah, I remember
that
too.
one Yeah, that was
Unbelievable.
Pretty wild. Okay.
So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay. I didn't write anything down for the Saints because honestly, I forgot who they even played. They played the Panthers. That's right.
Yes, they played the Panthers.
Yes, and they won. Okay. Derek Carr was out there being a bum.
And
They
blaming
still covered the
everybody
5.5.
else.
He at one point had completed, I think it was like 8 or 9 passes for like 37 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just awful and heinous, and I maybe not want to watch, but they were playing the Panthers, who were so bad that they won anyway, and it wasn't really even a question that they were going to win because the Panthers are awful. The Lions, your boys, Corey, after they flirted with disaster against the Bears a few weeks back, this time they actually lost.
Yeah.
They fully got together with
It
disaster
was
this
very frustrating because the start of the game just looked absolutely terrible. Looked like the Bears were going to run away with it.
Yeah.
And then the Lions seemed to kind of get things together.
They were ahead.
They were ahead going into halftime. It's like, okay, well maybe now they'll actually get it
they
together.
Were right of the ship, yeah.
They were favored by 3 points. I was like, okay, now I'm feeling confident they're going to cover. Nope. Messed around and lost, and now I'm even more lacking in confidence than I was. I was already feeling like, okay, this is a team that, we're going to make it into the playoffs. We're going to win the division. We will probably win our first playoff game as long as we don't have to face like the Cowboys or the Eagles. Whoever doesn't win the NFC East will probably win that first playoff game. And then we're going to lose to either the Cowboys, the Eagles, or the 49ers in the divisional round, which I can live with. I don't think that there's anything to be embarrassed about with losing to one of those 3 teams. Now it's looking like, the Packers or the Vikings could potentially sneak past us. I think it would take a lot.
in the division
It would take a lot.
4 games.
It would take a lot. But I think the Packers are 2 games back right now.
Yeah.
And they've been playing pretty well, other than
Just lost to the Giants.
losing to the Giants. That was
pretty
bad.
I mean, that little detail.
So
pretty bad.
at least they also suffered a bad loss like we did.
Yeah, it kind of offsets your
and
loss.
potentially even a worse loss, because at least Chicago, when they have Justin Fields can be electric at times. But I have a lot of concerns about the Lions.
The Vikings
right now.
are 2 games back, and the Packers are 3 back of the Lions.
The Lions are a team that has to get out ahead so that we can just run with David Montgomery and run it down your throat. Playing from behind is not a good situation for the Lions at this point.
They've got Denver, Minnesota,
we have a really hard
Dallas, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yo.
And that's the thing, like Minnesota's 3 games back, but we have to play them twice. And if we mess around and lose both of those, all of a sudden Minnesota could get past us because our other 2 games are against teams that are playing really well right now. Denver is playing really well right now.
Sure.
Denver's going to be in the playoffs. The Cowboys are a team that I think will probably beat us if we have to play them in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the Vikings, come on, man. You got to beat the Vikings.
Well, yeah, we have to beat the Vikings, but we also have to beat the Bears, and we didn't.
I agree. I agree with you being concerned.
Like, the Vikings are better than the Bears. Even with Nick Mullins at quarterback, the Vikings are better than the Bears.
Is Justin Jefferson done?
Jefferson's going to play this week, most likely.
Well, he was going to play last week until he wasn't because he got crushed.
Well, he did play last week and then got crushed.
He was in the hospital.
Yeah, but he's going to play this week.
I don't know, man. I feel like
he told Forrest he's going to play this week.
Okay, well, we'll see how long he lasts. Y'all are going to beat the Vikings. It'll be fine.
I hope so.
It'll be fine. It's going to be okay.
On Christmas Eve?
Oh, no. Okay, so that's our teams that we care about or slightly care about. Like I said, I was more excited about the Ravens than the Saints.
You just not have a team right now, Eric?
No, I love the Saints, but they're not serious though. Like they're bad. So I'm just waiting for them to either get eliminated or sneak into the
New Orleans
playoffs.
Saints, that's not a real football team.
No, they spent pretty much their entire history not being a real football team. So whatever, get the bags back out. All right. So other news and notes, we got to talk about it because it was the most awesome thing that happened all weekend, and it was marred by the lamest thing you saw all weekend. Bills Chiefs. I believe I had that one.
Yes, you did.
Lone woofed it. Picked the Bills to cover because the Chiefs have been looking like a booty butt cheeks the last.
So had the Bills though.
The Bills kind of seem to have the Chiefs number.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like they beat them a lot, especially in Arrowhead.
Just not in the playoffs.
Not in the post, but
not in the post when they have a 19 or when they have a lead with 19 seconds left.
13 seconds.
13 seconds.
It's even worse. Yes, it's a lot worse. Okay, so anyway, we all watched the game. It was great. We know about what happened with Patrick Mahomes and with Travis Kelce and with Kadarius Toney. Three legends right there.
Oh yeah.
And so
put them on an all-time offensive team.
Mm-hmm.
So they lost the game pretty much because that play got called back due to Kadarius Toney being, as I said in the chat, cartoonishly offsides. Like he was not close to being anywhere that could be considered onside.
His entire foot was in the neutral zone. His toes might have actually been past the ball.
Yes, his toes were on the defensive side of the field.
Yes.
Right? Like, you're not allowed to line up in the neutral zone. Okay? But he was past the neutral zone. He's on the other side of the field. So, all the people are like, oh, well, they should just let this go and stuff. Like, no, you're on the wrong side of the field, man. You have to be on your side before the play starts.
The ref threw the flag as soon as the play started.
Yeah, he like this was not like this play was awesome, but I'm gonna take it away. Like he had thrown the flag before the ball ever left Patrick Mahomes' hands.
Right after the snap, the flag is up.
Yes.
The alternative would have been
like not just the flag was out, but the graphic. The like there's always a delay between the official throwing the flag
Which I hate.
and it showing up in the graphic.
I hate that.
It was already on the graphic before the ball reached Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because they threw the flag right away.
Yes.
And what's the ref going to do? He's going to have a conference with the other zebras and be like, guys, I know Kadarius Toney was offsides and I penalized him for it, but that play was so cool. Let's just let it go. You know, whatever. That's not going to happen. That's never how it works.
No,
And
you have to be on your side of the field.
would anybody have complained if he got flagged for, like, let's say they covered up the tight end or something like that, illegal formation? No. Nobody would have complained because
We have
that's the structure of the NFL.
We live in a society.
And part of the rules say you can't line up on the other side of the friggin' ball.
Yeah.
And so I will say, I find it frustrating that we have footage that Kadarius Toney lined up offsides 3 other times during the game. None of those were flagged. I think that's not a good look for the officials. But one thing I will say, and I don't know if Sean McDermott went to an official at some point during the game and was like, hey, like Kadarius Toney's been lining up offsides a few times. Can you keep an eye out on that? Because if that happened, once you do that, like the official has to be like, okay, I'm gonna, like if I see, I'm gonna throw the flag.
Did he go? He would have been better served going up to the ref and saying, "Hey, the terrorists on 9/11 never lined up offside, so let's go with that."
let's leave that bag of worms alone. Because good lord,
I don't really want to. Nance and Romo kept saying he's such a great guy, and I'm like, is he though? Is he? Because normal people don't think like that.
No. In any case, I use the example of. I tell my athletes going into championships, I have kids who sometimes they violate uniform violations at cross country meets where like they wear a color of compression shorts under their racing shorts that's a different color than the rest of the team.
They violate the violations.
And that's a uniform violation. Now, most meet directors are not going to call it. Most coaches don't point it out during the regular season, but when they will? Championship game when it matters the most. Yeah. They're going to be like, hey, this team, they seem to be out of uniform. And once you bring it to the attention of the meet official, they have to enforce the rule. So in the same case, if Sean McDermott sees this going on, he waits till toward the end of the game when it's going to matter the most. It's going to be the worst outcome for the Chiefs. He's not going to point it out early in the game where it's going to give Kadarius Toney a heads up that, oh, I got to make sure that I'm on side going forward because otherwise it might come up in a critical situation. He's going to wait until that critical situation to make sure it does the most damage. So now this is completely conjecture on my part. I don't know if Sean McDermott actually did that. It could have also just been, the officials getting together and being like, hey, I'm thinking that this guy might be a little bit offsides. Like
he's in the defensive backfield.
Right. he's not in the defensive backfield.
He's huddling up with the linebacker. Yeah. This guy's the mic.
It doesn't matter. The point ultimately is this is not on the officials. This is on Kadarius Toney.
Yes.
And to say anything else is beclowning yourself, and that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid did. I can't believe the NFL has not levied fines against them at this point. They need to. They deserve to be fined for
like 6 figures for each one. Like what are y'all doing?
For bad mouthing the officials the way that they did over a call
and
they
they're
got
wrong.
Right. Over a call that they got right.
You can't be loud and wrong.
And then on top of that, the way that Patrick Mahomes acted when he met with Josh Allen on the field after the game.
That was
how the hell is Allen supposed to respond to that?
He responded appropriately.
This is a guy who has beaten you multiple times, and you've had to go up and shake his hand after the game and be respectful. And you finally get like a big win against him, and he's like, man, that was a terrible call. It's the only reason we lost this game. Yada yada.
Well, he said other stuff, but I'm not going to repeat that.
He basically said, I can't believe that. It was unbelievable. Just grousing about something that was completely out of Allen's
worst
control.
call in NFL history or something.
The worst call in NFL
worst
history.
call I've ever seen or something like. Well, and the thing is, like, Corey, you mentioned the fact that Toney had been offsides previous. Was he as offsides as he was on that play?
I mean, offsides is offside.
Sure,
so I don't know that he had like his toe on the defensive side of the ball.
But the refs have said.
But he was clearly in the neutral zone.
The refs have said that they don't want to nitpick this stuff because like if a hand is hanging over the front of somebody's helmet,
his foot was in the neutral zone.
No, his foot was not. His foot was on the defensive side of the field.
On the other three.
Okay.
On the other 3 plays.
Yeah, he was too far forward.
His foot was in the neutral zone.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about was it so egregious that the refs felt like, okay, I can't let this go.
The last one, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
The last one
was,
yes, absolutely.
Were the other ones? Did they just miss it, or did they just say, close enough? I don't know. But all I know is that if you get flagged for something like that, like we've heard it from John Madden if you ever played Madden, holding happens on almost every play. Well, guess what? They don't call it on almost every play. They call it only on a few. Well, this is one of the few times they called this, and you got caught
when it's the most egregious.
Yeah. So there you go.
So Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, I think they owe some people an apology, right? The officials, do they just bad-mouthed all week? Like, what?
And I will give Mahomes credit. He has sort of walked back some of his comments.
Sort of.
And, said that he regrets the way that he
acted like a total Karen out there,
so,
right? I want to speak to the manager.
I did enjoy that meme.
Yeah, unbelievable, right? That's not how you behave when you lose ever.
Yeah,
right.
Shouldn't be.
Yeah. So to borrow a phrase about the Kadarius Toney being on the wrong side of the line of scrimmage, this is a line, ma'am, right? Like you have to be on your side of the line. I'm sorry, right? That's the rule.
Well, I know these people over there though. So I should be allowed to move over
no,
there.
this is a line, ma'am. Yeah, no, what are you talking about? You have to be on your side of the line, right? There's a neutral zone for a reason. He was in that, but then he was also on the enemy side. It was unbelievable.
The implications of this game were big. The Chiefs are looking like they're likely not going to have the top seed, although it's still possible for them.
It is still possible, but it's very unlikely at this point.
So it looks like the Arrowhead Invitational for the AFC Championship game might be called off this year. Might have to go play it somewhere else. The Bills basically, I don't know.
They kind of needed that
saved
win.
their
I was going to say they
season.
saved the season, but they at least preserved it for now. Right,
They got back above 500.
They needed to win this game because if they lose this one, they're toast. So big win for them, kind of puts them still in the thick of the playoff chase.
Yep.
And we'll see what they're able to do if they're able to rally and get back in the mix because there are plenty of people that are dying to pick the Bills to win the Super Bowl. We did it last year, and some of us picked them to make the Super Bowl this year.
I think that was me.
Yeah, it's looking a little better than my AFC pick because I think I picked the Bengals, and not happening.
Woof. I
Jake
had the
Browning
Bills.
though. Jake Browning. Anyway, another issue that apparently is going to be up for discussion this offseason. The NFL Competition Committee will discuss fumbles through the end zone resulting in a touchback for the defense. This has been a rule since inception. It's had big-time implications.
Apparently, they think it's too punitive. So,
why
the NFL met this week. They discussed a number of different things, including the tush push, which it doesn't seem like there's very much support for getting rid of the tush push because there's not a large enough sample size to say definitively that it's resulting in more injuries, which is like the guise that they were going to use to try and eliminate it. So.
That's a terrible guise. They should just eliminate it.
Have they watched football
think it's
before?
And like Troy Vincent basically said, like, look, the Eagles are doing it really well. They're the best team at it. We don't want to punish a team for being really good at something. Like, we're not going to take it away just because of that. So if there's not an increased injury risk, which right now there's not enough data to prove that it is, they're not going to get rid of it. But one thing they are talking about is the punitive nature of a fumble through the end zone resulting in a touchback for the defense. But the whole point is it's the goal line.
Yeah.
The goal line is the most important part of the field.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't maintain possession when you're reaching the goal line, then
you shouldn't have the ball anymore.
Where are you going to put the ball? On the 1 yard line?
You should put it at, no.
Should put it at the
or
20 for the other team.
Or is this going to be a situation
put it at your own 1 yard line?
Disc where like if you catch the disc and your momentum carries you into the end zone, you still have to complete a pass into the end zone. So we're gonna like line up a yard into the end zone, but you have to like complete a pass or like run the ball and still get across the goal line. What are we doing here?
No, you
rule-
lost the ball out of bounds.
It's a turnover. Personally, I think that anytime you lose the ball out of bounds, it should just be a turnover.
Like
But
a rugby situation?
definitely when you get down near the goal line,
We have
don't
rules.
fumble the ball. Like if you fumble the ball in the field of play and your teammate recovers it, great. Like he saved
Lucky
the play.
you.
But if it goes out of bounds, personally, I think it should be a lost fumble no matter where you are on the field.
I kind of agree with that too.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, but like at the goal line, right? The end zone isn't the field of play. Okay, the rules are different in the end zone. So if you fumble the ball through the end zone on offense, you don't deserve to keep the ball anymore.
The end zone's the other team's territory.
Yeah.
You just lost the ball out of bounds in their territory. It's their ball.
Yeah.
That's how it works. If I throw my baseball into somebody's house and they say, I'm keeping this, I can't believe that's not fair. No, it's their ball.
That's not where I thought you were going with this.
That's
Come on, man.
Yeah, I thought if you throw your baseball and the guy hits it for a home run,
That's what
you
I
don't
thought
get it
was
back
going
after that.
No. It's not your turf. The end zone is not your spot on the field. Everywhere between the goal lines is neutral turf.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But the end zone is theirs. You have to possess the ball when you're in the end zone.
Yes.
If you cough it up, it's not yours anymore.
No.
We have kickoff rules. What's a kickoff? It's not a punt, right? It's a free ball. What happens when a kickoff goes through the end zone? It's a touchback.
Yeah.
It's the same damn rule. So come on now. Like this doesn't make any sense. Everybody's whined about this. They've like, oh well, it's just like it's so weird that the rules are completely different in the end zone. I'm like, you mean
It's
the place
the end
where
zone.
you get 6 points if you land versus nothing everywhere else? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the field of play anymore.
This would be more dumb than eliminating the tush push, in my opinion.
I mean,
Well, the tush push
In your
is that
opinion.
consequential.
like this, it's definitely way more
It's-
dumb,
yeah, I
right?
agree.
You're
Yeah.
changing the rules of the game.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't love it.
Of course, I'm reminded of Ryan Clark talking to Dan Orlovsky because Orlovsky's trying to get him to change this rule as well. And Ryan Clark is just like, of all people in America, the end zone is sacred, Dan, right? Like, if you run out the back of the end zone, it's a safety.
If you kick the ball through the end zone, it's a safety too.
If-
Lamar Jackson,
Oh,
he
yeah,
did
that-
that.
but he did it. Yeah, he did it on purpose.
He did
And
that
it was a
with
smart
the-
play.
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty cool.
If you
Kick the shit
hold,
like that.
it's a safety. You commit intentional grounding in the end zone, it's a safety. So
I will say
don't
though,
care,
I feel like that kick by Lamar should also be illegal for the same reason you're not allowed to bat a ball out of bounds.
You're allowed to bat it if you're on offense. So we see people throw the ball out of the back of the end zone all the time.
You are allowed to bat it?
Yeah, like if you're the team in possession, the ball's loose in your end zone, you're allowed to bat it out.
Oh.
You're not allowed to do that if you're on the other team.
Oh.
Yeah, because people have always done that type of stuff. You're allowed to take an intentional safety like that. It's
Okay.
fine. But, anywho, you're not allowed to bat it forward. That's the rule.
Okay.
And since it would be
Okay.
forward for
Okay.
the other team, but for you, you're
Right.
batting it backwards. So,
Got it.
all right. I think is that all the stuff we have for the little news and notes? Before we get to the
Probably.
picks?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, we got biggest regret, too. So let's have fun with that. Corey, your biggest regret was picking the Ravens to cover. Well, you got two of them in here.
Yeah, I have two of them in here.
Twofer.
I mean, I have plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
But those two in particular, because I was very close to taking the Rams. Just, I talked about it last week.
I
Said
thought you did take the Rams.
I almost did. And it was one of those games where I was like, I think, the Ravens tend to play very well coming off a bye, but the Rams also historically have played very well against teams that have who are coming off of more rest than they have. When they're at a rest deficit, if you will, the Rams have played very well. Plus, I've been saying ever since Kyron Williams came back, this is a actual offense. Like, this is an NFL offense, not what we were seeing for those 5 or 6 weeks that Kyron Williams was not playing. That was pathetic.
Yeah.
So I there was a part where it was 7.5 is just too much, and I made a fool of myself and went with the Ravens. And then there was also the Chargers. I said, if this doesn't happen, this is gonna be my regret pick of the week. So I had to also put this in here because
Did I pick them
I
too?
saw this coming. In fact, during the game, I was thinking, oh yeah, I took the Broncos, awesome. And then I looked at the picks, I was like, nope, I took the Chiefs or the Chargers because I am a moron.
Oh, I also took the Chargers.
Yes,
Yes,
you
you
and I
did.
both
Why?
took the Bolts
Well,
because
y'all
we're
don't.
fools.
I don't know what y'all were doing.
I don't know what we were doing either.
All right.
That was stupid, especially because I know the Broncos have actually been playing decent lately,
They have been. Yeah.
and the Chargers have not been. So yeah.
All right. So let me proffer this for you real quick, just as
Proffer.
sort of a joke. Not really a joke, but how much consideration do you give Sean Payton for Coach of the Year?
At this point, I would give him more consideration than I would give Dan Campbell, who you guys both picked, or my pick, which was Doug Peterson.
Okay.
I would take him over both of them.
Well, I'm curious because I feel like if we actually decide to go that route, we being the NFL people who actually pick, which isn't us, we don't get votes. We're not part of the Associated Press. But I feel like you're almost giving him too much credit for them sucking early and making up for it, because that's on your record too, right? The Broncos were supposed to be a competitive team this year, and they are. We're surprised by them because they started so poorly, but I don't think you can just lower the expectations to that point and then say Peyton did a good
Maybe for some people that'd be the case. I expected them to be putrid this year.
job. Okay.
I did not expect.
You did say that.
I did not expect Russell Wilson to bounce back. I thought he was going to have another terrible year.
Bounce back, yeah.
I did not think that the rest of the team was going to be that great. I don't love their offensive weapons around Russell Wilson. Javonte Williams is the only guy that I'm that impressed with. And
Cortland Sutton's catching tutties all day.
no,
though.
well, yeah, Cortland Sutton has been playing really well. I have not been that impressed with him historically.
What about
Javonte
Jerry
Williams
Jeudy?
was the only guy coming into the season. I was like, this guy's good,
He's coming off an
he's
injury.
been kind of
He's coming off an injury,
this year,
so
right?
you don't really know what to expect from him.
The defense, I was like, they were bad last year. Do I really think they're going to bounce back? I don't know. And they certainly did not look good
Didn't
early,
yeah.
but they have improved drastically. And honestly, it's the defense where I've seen the biggest improvement.
Sure.
The offense has played better. Don't get me wrong.
Owens has been competent.
Russell Wilson has been playing better.
He's throwing it to his team
He's
this
had
year.
some of those magical plays that we remember him
Yeah,
having
he's
in
actually made
Seattle,
some nice plays,
right?
yeah.
So I'll give them credit for that, and I will absolutely give Sean Payton credit for that, especially given that I did not have very high expectations for that team coming into the season.
What about Mike McDaniel or Stefanski?
Stefanski.
I mean, yeah. They got no quarterback.
No,
And they're 8
I
and
They have
5.
the best defense in the league. It's not because of him.
Right, he's an offensive-minded coach.
They should
so
have more wins. He
Yeah.
blew the
Yeah.
Seahawks game. We watched it on an airplane.
Yeah, I wouldn't give any to Stefanski. I think I'd probably take Mike McDaniel as my number one choice for Coach of the Year right now. He's probably the one guy I might take over Sean Payton, and even then, I think that he still needs to finish out the year stronger than what he just did against Tennessee. If he has another,
That was a doozy.
if they have another game like they had against Tennessee, he's out. he's out of the running for Coach of the Year, in my opinion.
I feel like if a certain team makes the playoffs, if the Texans get in, it's D'Amico Ryan's hand down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough at this point with C.J. Stroud being banged up.
Yep.
You know, we don't know if he's going to play this week. I think they may have already announced Davis Mills as the starting quarterback this week, but I have to check that. I have to double check that. But regardless, that's going to be really tough. They don't have Tank Dell. He's out for the season.
He's out
Nico
too,
Collins is banged up. He's questionable this week. And, you've got their running back situation is not looking that good right now. Dameon Pierce, came back and was the lead back for a week, and then he looked terrible this past week. And Devin Singletary is up and down. So they have to overcome a lot to get into the playoffs at this point. I'm not going to say it's impossible. And I'm pulling for them. Don't get me wrong. And if they do get in, I agree. It's got to be D'Amico Ryan just because of how awful that team was last year, how low the expectations were coming in this year, the fact that a lot of people, I was very high on C.J. Stroud coming out of the draft. I think you guys were pretty high on him as well.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
But none of us were expecting
him to be the best rookie ever.
Transcendent.
Good. Yes,
Yeah.
we were not expecting.
We weren't expecting
that.
the greatest rookie performance we've ever seen from a quarterback.
So
Sorry.
yeah, no, I agree. It's obviously C.J. Stroud is not so much because of D'Amico Ryan. He's a defensive coach, but he still puts the staff around him.
That team has been
awful for quite a while.
Yeah, they look like they're going to be awful this year. I eliminated them super early, and they've made me sweat. But the rest of the AFC's kind of made it tough on them.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I've held off because I still have not eliminated them.
The Texans have Titans, Browns, Titans, Colts the last 4 games. So
Colts are in the mix too. So
yeah,
that's gonna be that'll be interesting. We'll see.
So that was all of that conversation came on from Corey's regret pick. So
Somehow
we got off track a little bit. My regret pick is also picking the Ravens to cover that line because the Ravens just always do this. So
how many times have I said I watch every single one of their games? I'm like, they're not going to cover 7.5.
Pardon me, Evan, if I don't listen to you on your picks because
you
are way down there in the standings, thoroughly under 500. So
I mean,
just saying.
If there's any team I know about, it's this one.
That's your record on the Ravens is probably pretty good. I will say that. Everybody else.
I had a worse week than you, and I'm still 10 games ahead of you, Evan.
Oh, okay. Well, it was 11, I guess.
It's 11 for me now. Okay. Evan, your regret, it just says Eagles in all lowercase letters.
Yeah.
So, no EAGLES Eagles, no celebratory moments
No.
for you because the Eagles got curb stomped by the boys.
I believe I had that one.
This is the second week in a row I have
the one thing that I had
confidently, with my chest, picked Philly.
Yes, you did. Very confidently.
And they got curb stomped again.
Mm-hmm.
So
how about them Eagles?
yeah,
Not very good.
nope.
Yeah, that's why this is my proudest pick because I had that one. I saw that one coming. I knew the Cowboys were going to take care of business against the Eagles. The Cowboys have not lost to Philly at home in quite some time, several years now.
That is true.
It's been like 5 years.
I did know
the Cowboys have been playing very well of late. The
Yes,
Eagles have been a little iffy.
Yeah.
Like they had that long stretch where AJ Brown set the NFL record for consecutive games with 125 receiving yards.
Yeah,
and they were really good since then. He hasn't done it since. And the team has not looked that good since. DeAndre Swift has been not that great since then after having a really good start to the season.
I'm aware.
Their defense, their secondary, whew,
Garbage.
stinky.
Mm-hmm.
Their secondary has been awful. Like this is not
Sure.
This is not the team that made it to the Super Bowl this last year.
No.
This is not the Jalen Hurts that was the best player on the field in the Super Bowl last year.
No. I mean, David Carr says that Marcus Mariota could be better than him right now. So
And
I
Marcus
don't know if I
Mariota
would go
doesn't
that
have feelings in
far.
his
I wouldn't
heart.
go that way, because that would be stupid.
Can Marcus Mariota even throw a football yet? Like
No.
last year,
No.
he left
Yes.
because he couldn't
He's
throw a football
got
anymore.
He has
nerve damage.
permanent
Yeah,
nerve damage.
Right. Like
It's like Todd Gurley trying to play running back when he's got arthritis in his knee. That's not a thing.
Oh.
You can't do that. Come on. All right, so Corey, that's your proudest pick. My proudest pick is obvious. It's the Bills.
Yeah.
Y'all were picking the Chiefs, and I picked the Bills.
you also have the Saints and the Broncos.
I did have the Saints and the Broncos.
Yeah, you went 3 for 3 on
But the
Wolves.
Broncos benefited from an injury, so I feel like that's kind of...
fair.
And me picking the Saints to beat the Panthers at home by more than 5.5. I just don't know what you guys were doing. Like,
The Saints were looking shaky.
the Panthers are one win team. Like, come on. What are we doing?
Fair enough.
The Panthers are that bad. So yeah, I went with the Bills just because I was like, okay, that one actually I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I did it, and it worked. So thank you, Kadarius Toney. I love you.
There you go.
You're my boy. I had him on my fantasy team that one time. Remember that? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you did.
He was really good for like
3
5
plays,
minutes,
yeah.
and then he got hurt. And
He
then
had like 4 catches on one drive.
he
and
was
then
tearing it up. I was like,
left.
this is a great spot start. I can't believe this actually worked. And then he's out for the game. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
One of
now my season's over.
I think one of 6 straight head-to-head matchups you've lost to me now.
Yeah. Thanks, Corey.
A friend of mine is a Giants fan, and I texted him, Kadarius Toney cost the Chiefs another game. And he's like, well, what happened this time?
How many championships have you won in that 6-game winning streak, Corey?
How many of you won in that 6-game losing streak?
None. That's what I'm saying. It don't mean a thing without the ring. So
I have to change my team name back to the missing rings again after the last 2 seasons.
you still have a ring. So deal.
Yeah, I do.
All right. That was my proudest pick. Evan just put a blank line because he got nothing.
No.
Which,
No.
based on what I looked at, understandable.
Mhm.
All right. Most surprising outcome, Corey. You have the Giants covering a 6.5-point line and winning outright against the Packers. That is definitely a surprise.
Yeah, that was a huge surprise. I did not have Tommy DeVito being the second best quarterback by DYAR this week on my bingo
I'm
card.
allowed to be tired of him, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I-
don't get me wrong. Like,
yeah, I get
I-
it feels weird to be tired of a guy who sucks.
it
But
has
like,
nothing to do with him as a
but
player.
but
It's
yes, like all the stuff
Italian
about
stuff,
like the Italian
you know?
stuff, like his mom still makes him chicken cutlets, except she didn't this past week because he gave her a break because she was traveling or whatever. Why do we need to hear these things? Why do we need to know all this?
Whatever. Okay, that's cute and charming. It's just the fact that now he's like, all right, he's like a representation of everybody who doesn't. Not every Italian, just anybody who watched The Sopranos. It's like, oh, Tommy DeVito's my boy. You know,
then you get
doing
the agent.
Yeah, the agent dressed up like a gangster and stuff like that.
I thought he was a cartoon character.
It's just it's all so
Or like
ridiculous.
the mascot.
You're allowed to be tired
I was
of him.
okay with it for like 2 weeks, and now I'm like, okay, this guy's gonna be here the rest of the year. Can we actually treat him like an NFL quarterback, please?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
So I did not have that on my bingo card this week, especially when Jordan Love had played a couple of really good games
really
in a
good,
row,
yeah.
and then he just looked terrible this week.
Real bad. Yeah.
Like, how did the Packers defense scored like less than 2 points for me in fantasy against the Giants? Against the Giants.
That's a tough break because I feasted on the Giants all year with streaming.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
great.
I think the Packers had the highest projected point total in fantasy.
They
this
should have
week,
because they were playing the Giants.
and they scored less than 2 points.
I'm
I
starting
thought my
the-
defense was
Meanwhile, the Saints
disappointing.
scored 30.
I'm starting the Saints defense in the post
Granted,
in my
the
other
Saints are
league.
playing the Panthers, and the Saints are actually a good defense, whereas the Packers are not. But still,
Yeah, but like
Come on.
the Saints are playing the Giants this week. I got the Saints defense in the other league.
and they're probably going to do
in
well.
the post, and so I'm gonna start them.
Yeah, I'm starting a defense
I'm
against
so
the
glad
Panthers
that
this week.
that Brandon Aubrey ridiculous game that he had didn't cost me a playoff spot. I was like, okay, it's like it never happened. It's so good.
I've got my next 3 games. I'm starting a defense against the Panthers. I've got the Falcons against the Panthers this week.
That'll be good.
I've got the Packers against the Panthers next week, which I'm now a little bit nervous about because of what
That's
they did
still
against the
probably
Giants. And then I've got the Jaguars against the Panthers in week 17.
I think I'm kind of. Maybe I shouldn't say I'm out on him, but I'm kind of. I've lost hope for the time being in Bryce Young.
Oh yeah,
He hasn't
the
looked
dude.
good.
So in our
But he's like missing the open throws, which is the thing
Yes.
he's not supposed to do.
he had
Yeah.
Mingo for the easiest touchdown of the year, and he missed him.
Yeah, missed him by a lot.
How? The Saints just gave you a gift. They don't give anybody gifts. This is a good defense. And you just said, nah, I don't need that. And
Overthrew him really badly. I was just like,
kidding me.
I was like, Bryce Young was supposed to be laser accurate, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Baker was supposed to be like this just precise, accurate thrower, and then he started spraying balls, and I was like, oh no, if the one thing you're supposed to be great at, you're not good at this level.
Sounds like Chance Cisco
yeah,
or something.
Offensive catcher.
Yes.
He has not
Which is
scored.
true.
He has not scored 10 fantasy points in our league since week 8.
It's not hard to score 10 fantasy
It's
points in
really
our league as
not.
a quarterback.
It's really not. His starting week 9, his point totals: 0.66, 9.21. That was his best one. Minus 0.49, 7.58, 3.21, and 5.51.
Ooh.
He's awful.
None of these games were like he left due to injury or got
No.
benched either. He played all 4 quarters.
He threw more than 30 passes in all but one of those games. And that was the Cowboys game when he threw 29 passes.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some recalibration by certain people, and by certain people I mean me. Small quarterbacks are still a problem in terms of like that being a major negative. Like we kind of got away from that because Russell Wilson.
But the
because
thing is,
Kyler
those
Murray.
guys are like very mobile, and not to say that Bryce Young can't run a little bit, but that's not his
He's
game.
not as mobile
he's
as he
not
needs to be.
mobile the way that Russell Wilson was. He's not mobile the way that Drew Brees was.
He
even
wasn't mobile.
Drew Brees could run some. He did run some.
Okay, but
he was more
this?
mobile than Bryce Young is.
Drew Brees is also 6'1". Like he wasn't like as short, and Drew Brees is also exceptional. Like let's be real. Like Drew Brees is doing the thing where he's looking over the line of scrimmage like that all the time. Like he exploited every inch of his body that he could.
Yeah.
Like Bryce Young.
He's not mobile like Kyler Murray.
No, Kyler Murray scoots, man.
Yes.
Like Bryce Young was mobile in college, just like Baker was.
Kyler
mobile
Murray
in
has the
college.
greatest. It was a 2-point conversion, wasn't it, against the Raiders, or was it a touchdown? Either way, it was like the greatest play I've ever seen. Kyler Murray had like last year.
Well, and again, the thing is like Russell Wilson also in terms of just his speed, but also he's maybe one of the 15 best athletes to ever play football. Like he is a freak of an athlete. Like he's built like a tank. He's like 215 pounds despite being 5'10".
Kyler?
No.
No, he's talking about Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
I don't
Kyler
know that
Murray's
I would necessarily call Russell Wilson one of the 15 greatest athletes
He's a
to play.
great athlete.
But he is a very good athlete. He's certainly a much better athlete than Bryce
Bryce
Young
Young's like
is.
170 pounds soaking wet, man. Like, that guy
Yeah,
can't be
he's
playing
little.
quarterback. He's a little guy. Russell Wilson was a short guy, relatively speaking, not a little guy.
Yeah.
And Kyler Murray might be a little guy, but he's speedy.
It certainly, it
He's
certainly
got
doesn't help
laser
that the
on.
Panthers' offensive line is horrible.
God.
Well, and they
Garbage
had a
still.
bad coach. They hired
Still.
Frank Reich for some reason, and they fired him after 11 games. So, I mean, maybe he'll figure it out. But it feels like there's still, like we kind of overlooked that negative just because we was like, hey, short quarterbacks can make it now. Well, they don't always last.
Yeah.
He's lost at least 29 sack yards in all but one of those games since Week 8.
Oh, pretty
Well,
bad.
I mean,
In fact, he lost 55 sack yards in Week 8.
the Panthers traded up to get him. Like they have a limited opportunity to make their team better now.
Yeah, because they don't have the top pick.
Yeah,
That's
like
gonna go to the
they're
Bears.
earning the top pick as we speak, but
And
they
gave it
already
to
set
somebody
it up
else.
the road.
Yeah, they gave it to the Bears. Yeah. So. All right. So.
Did you have a most surprising pick, Eric, or game?
It was
I
going to
should
be the
say?
Dolphins just because of the way
Oh,
they
yeah,
blew
the Dolphins.
game.
Yeah, that's who Evan has as well.
Yeah. I mean, they blew the game. Like,
Yeah.
what else do you say? Shout out to Vrabel though. This is the second time this year that the go for 2 while down 8 thing has worked, because it worked for them. It worked for the Packers against the Saints earlier in the year too. And I'm like, okay, this happened on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
So can we please just put this aside and say this works and everybody do this now?
Yeah. Do we need to, every time that somebody does it, like have the announcers qualify with, this is the analytics play?
So I don't know if I would do it.
We know at this point. Even just like giving the disclaimer, at this point, we know.
Just
we
get-
know
I mean,
it's the analytics
Just
play.
get
You don't need to
Musburger
explain
on
every
there
time
from the
now.
water, but we know.
I mean,
just
yeah,
like-
but the thing
We
is,
know.
we
know.
know, but like the regular old NFL watching person out
Happened in
there,
front of everybody. We all saw it.
yeah, but like people are slow to learn stuff and to change what they previously
Right.
thought.
But now it was in front of everybody. So now can we stop? I'm not saying like I was annoyed. I was
people
annoyed
take
with
a
it
long
before,
time to
but
learn
I
stuff.
didn't complain about it before.
You
Now I'm
teach
gonna
children.
Okay, but
Don't they
this
take a
is-
long
this is
time to
case
learn
of-
stuff?
This is a case of Voldemort is standing on the podium in the Ministry of Magic.
Uh-huh.
It's everybody sees it. He's back. That's it. This is done. We don't have to discuss
I mean,
this anymore.
I agree with you. I just don't think other people agree with you.
Well, they need to get on board because this is tiresome.
I agree.
All right, let's get on to our eliminated team. I guess I'll start because I won the week.
Yes, you did.
Not used to that.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Corey. All right. Well, I've eliminated the Rams, the Panthers, the Texans. Jeez, the Texans. The Broncos. Jeez, the Broncos. The New England Patriots, the Giants, the Minnesota Vikings, the Cardinals, the Jets, the Bears, the Raiders, the Commodes, the Chargers. And last week I eliminated the Titans, while I was apparently 7 or 8 pina coladas deep, according to Evan, which I was not.
Oh.
I was just having a good time. All right. I'm going to eliminate sort of a get out ahead of this one a little bit because I could eliminate the Bengals, but you two have already eliminated the Bengals each, and I'd rather save that for a rainy day. I'm going to maybe take a slight risk. Just a little risk. Baby risk. Pittsburgh Steelers, get out. You're done. You're not making the post.
Okay.
You blamed all your woes on Matt Canada, and guess what? Your offense still stinks. Your quarterback still stinks. And you want to know something else? Are we 100% sure Mike Tomlin's going to be sticking around Pittsburgh?
Why? Yes.
Why?
I'm pretty certain.
This team is going the wrong direction. They're going to suck for years.
So you agree with Big Ben?
Yeah, I do.
Ben Roethlisberger said this week that he thinks that the Steelers' way is gone.
I don't know about the Steelers' way or whatever nonsense this is. I know about the personnel. That defense is getting older. That's the only thing they've got going for them. Their offense stinks. Friggin'
Kenny Pickett
is
trash.
awful. He's terrible.
He's so bad.
Like, come on. Like, that guy can't play. They don't have the draft capital to get somebody this year. I'm not saying that the Steelers are going to fire him. I'm saying, why wouldn't Mike Tomlin say, hey, I'm a Hall of Fame coach. I can go somewhere else and not have to live through this 4 or 5 year rebuild coming up where I might have to eat a 3-14 season like Bill Belichick is doing, who, by the way, is getting fired after this year, too.
Fired?
Yes. Gone. Mutual parting of ways. Traded to the commodes. Whatever. He's not going to be there next year.
I hesitate to... I just don't know if he's going to do that because I think that he has a lot of... I feel like he's very attached to that organization.
As he
and
should
for
be.
good reason. Yeah. Like, the Steelers have a great organization. Obviously, the on-field product is garbage right now. And as you said, is probably going to be garbage for at least a while, at least the next several years. But there's a lot of loyalty, I think, from the Steelers organization to Mike Tomlin. Yeah. And I think that it goes the other way as well.
Sure.
For fair reasons. So I don't know that I see him going somewhere else. I certainly would not blame him if he did. I would not be like, man, like Mike Tomlin is this, super selfish person if he does it. I would have no problem with that. I think there are some people who might go that way, and we know why. But I like Mike Tomlin a lot. I will respect whatever decision he makes. I have a feeling the decision he will make will be to stay with the Steelers. That is the kind of person that is the character that I have seen from him so far, so it would surprise me. Wouldn't disappoint me, just would surprise me if he went somewhere else.
Do you think it's possible, though, that the Steelers, they're loyal to Mike Tomlin, but maybe they see, not so much to say, hey, you're not getting it done anymore, but say, hey, you deserve an opportunity to go do this somewhere else.
They're
before you
probably
get too
the only organization in the NFL that I could legitimately see that as a possibility. I don't know if they actually would.
Right.
But I could see it.
I'm almost rooting for it because I want Mike Tomlin to be able to coach somewhere where he's going to be relevant. And it feels like the last couple of years, Pittsburgh has been borderline relevant at best, and it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
I'd never even considered Mike Tomlin leaving. Like,
I hadn't
what?
either, but it's definitely.
I'm still not considering it.
Putting it out there.
Yeah. No, this is zero chance this happens.
Okay. All right.
I would be flabbergasted.
Well, just flabbergasting things have happened before. So.
That is true.
Let Evan.
Let Evan. It is your turn to eliminate a team. Since I am hosting, I will do the honor of reading off your already dead soldiers here. Week 1, you eliminated the Indianapolis Colts. That's looking like a doozy. But you also got the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Bears, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Giants, the Titans, the Broncos, the Rams, the Commodes, the Chargers, the Bengals, and last week you eliminated the Buffalo Bills. So who's on the chopping block tonight?
I think Seattle Seahawks.
Ooh,
yeah.
I considered them too.
Yeah, I mean,
a mishmash of 6 and 7 teams that are.
Yeah, you have to pick somebody.
Yeah, that's why I held off. I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, so I mean, who you picked? The Steelers. Well, I mean, they're in the mix in the AFC as well, right?
I think they're on the wrong. I think they're gonna lose at least. I think they're gonna lose 3 out of the next 4 games.
Yeah,
they play 3 on the road.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm. No, so I got Seattle.
All right, so Evan is killing the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Corey, you are last up. You have eliminated the Cardinals, the Titans, the Bears, the Giants, the Broncos, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Rams, the New York Jets, the Green Bay Packers, Cincinnati Bengals, the Commodes, and last week you eliminated the Minnesota Vikings.
So I have one of those teams for a rainy day, which is good because I'm the third team. I'm going to pick the team that plays the Chiefs in Week 18. Oof. The Broncos in Week 17. Oof. The Bills in Week 16. Oof. And are currently losing 14-0 to the Raiders with 4 minutes and 41 seconds left in the first quarter.
Okay, yeah.
I'm killing the Chargers.
Go Chargers, go!
They're down 14-0.
They're down 14-0, and they are just over 10 minutes into the game.
Oh no.
Oh,
That is too bad. Okay, cool. Nobody on my opponent has any relevant Raiders that have scored.
there aren't any relevant Raiders.
I understand that, but
Well, I have a touchdown from Zamir White.
Corey's gonna find his way in the post somehow. He made a 3% chance.
I don't think so because
He needs so much to go your way.
I need to win, but I also need Steven to beat Alex, which is no guarantee because Steven's team has been looking awful, and I need Andrew to beat William Battle, and
That's
ain't
the
happening.
harder part. Yeah.
Don't I need that too?
Andrew, yeah, I think so. Andrew's coming to this week as the lowest projected point total in our league.
He's got 3 questionable guys in his lineup. Right
Andrew's
now.
team is always sleepwalking, right? Like
He made the final one year.
Yeah, he did.
No,
And,
no,
and he made the championship against you
me,
that
and then
one
next year he made the post.
And then next year he made the post. And since then he has been in the bottom bracket every year.
Well, he better shape up, or else he's gonna get punished this year. Like,
you have to go to
might.
Waffle House.
it depends on
That sounds
I might
delicious,
be
by
playing
the
in
way.
the Pro Bowl again this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might wiggle your way back up there after.
Well, even if I don't make the playoffs, I can still be in the Pro Bowl.
How does that?
What?
that
I don't
should-
even know what that
I don't
means.
even want to ask.
It's the highest scoring team and the highest breakdown team who are not in the Sable Bowl.
Oh, okay, well, whatever.
Oh boy, I'm
Pick
not
something.
going to remember
pick
that in
something
5
actually
minutes.
Punitive this year for Drew because he deserves it. And it'll be
I
more
feel
fun.
like a Steeler fan wearing Ravens gear is pretty punitive.
Yeah, I thought it was a little.
How would you
tame.
feel wearing Steelers gear?
Be irritated, but I wouldn't feel punished. You know? Right? Like,
Well, what would be a good punishment for you? Because
I mean, I don't want to put it out there, right? 'Cause my team is at risk.
All right, you're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to ride a roller coaster for a year,
oh, that's not cool. That's
or you're not allowed to ride a roller coaster until after the draft.
Oh, I was riding a coaster during the draft.
yes.
Y'all were taking forever to pick. I'm like, you know what?
We were
I'm just
enjoying
gonna go
ourselves
ride
while
a
you were
ride.
sitting there as just off in the ether. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a punishment for you, Evan.
Oh no.
Feel punished now.
well, I am pretty sure Corey said I am out of the Sacco running, which is great.
Yeah, I could still end up in the Sacco. I don't think you can at this point.
Yeah, because I got
and I don't think
enough
Evan can.
tiebreakers to.
I think the only two people who could make it into the postseason or could make it into the Sacco are me and Alex Kincaid.
Okay, because I'm eliminated from the post though.
No, you're not eliminated from the
Okay,
post.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, you're still.
I just can't make the Sacco.
You need to win, and you need 2 other outcomes. Evan needs to win 2 other outcomes.
Oh,
I need to
I'm
win
gonna
2
win,
other
'cause
outcomes.
it's
That's
playing.
ridiculous.
Get Steve Kornacki
I
on
have the tiebreaker both of you. So if I win this week, you guys are out automatically at
Yeah,
that
gotcha.
point.
That makes sense.
Oh.
All right. So that's our eliminated team, and a brief fantasy tangent. Let's do best and worst. Best quarterback of the week, according to Aaron Schatz's quick reads and DYAR. Matthew Stafford, 168 DYAR, a repeat winner.
Oh, that's what I mean.
I was wrong. DeVito was not number 2. He was number
Corey
3.
decided to note that Tommy DeVito is number 3. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, dead last. Just quit on him a couple minutes ago. With negative 132, which is ooh, that's pretty bad. Best running back, James Cook, who had a day.
Yeah.
His brother Dalvin Cook did not.
He was the worst. Yeah.
Negative 24. That's by total. Teammate Breece Hall was the worst last week, so Jets running backs have been stinking the joint up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all tried to tell me that Dalvin Cook would be a difference maker for the
I did
Jets.
not say that.
I'm like, no, he
I
doesn't
I
move
definitely
the
didn't
needle.
say that either.
I didn't say that. I did not say
Okay.
that.
Like, no, he's
I
a
knew
bum.
that Breece Hall was going to be better than Dalvin Cook this year.
Yeah, well, Dalvin Cook was understood to be the backup behind Breece Hall.
Yeah.
All right, so I thought the Bills should have used James Cook more. I think that's a big part of the reason the Chiefs got back in the game is because they kind of went away from the run, but whatever. Rushing only, Raheem Mostert, much to my chagrin because they didn't use Devon Achane for any of those touchdown runs, which would have won me my week.
Well, it's my chagrin, too, because I traded the guy away.
Well, that's your own fault.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not complaining. I have Joe Mixon and I have Deebo Samuel, who's been one of the best wide receivers recently. And
I know.
And I upgraded
I know.
it at tight end.
I know.
Oh, you have a tight end.
Yeah, I have George Kittle now.
He has a tight end.
I picked up Logan Thomas.
Yeah, you're starting him this week.
That's tough.
Well, because Taysom Hill is injured and kind of sucks, and Mark Andrews is
Well, I don't
injured.
think that Taysom Hill is questionable this week.
Well,
is
he was out this
Or yes,
past
he is.
week.
He's still
Surprise!
Surprise.
Yeah.
All right. Worst wide receiver, or actually no, worst running back I didn't mention was Zach Moss.
Yeah, by total.
Still in the league.
By rushing.
Wide receiver / tight end. Bet number 1 was Drake London of all people.
He
77.
finally had a huge day. I mean, it's hard to do that in that offense, but it's nice to see that this guy is actually really good because we were saying that he was going to be really good coming out of college.
I didn't like him on that team though.
On the Falcons?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And
I don't think any of us liked him on
Tyler
the Falcons,
Algier
especially-
needs the ball.
Especially
you know?
considering he was coming to the Falcons. He came to the Falcons after Kyle Pitts went to the Falcons. And we
Uh-huh.
saw what they did with Kyle Pitts.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I thought that they should have picked a speed guy because they play inside. They play on a track, basically. They should have drafted Chris Olave, but they didn't. So,
Yeah.
And he went to the Saints instead.
And he's trying his best.
Yeah.
He has the most unrealized yards, whatever the hell that means.
Unrealized air yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which sounds like unrealized gains, like the stock market. So is he going to get to cash in his yards eventually and vault me into the championship?
No.
Nah, there you go. All right. The number 2 was Debo after being number 1 last week because Debo rules.
He does.
The worst of the week was Zay Jones. I watched him drop a lot of passes, and I watched Trevor Lawrence suck. So, not good for him. My phone just died, so as we move into the picks, I'm going to have to get a little help here. So.
All right. Well, I can lead us through the picks. So first of all, again, Thursday Night Football already started since we began the podcast. Chargers at Raiders. The Raiders are -3.5 favorites. We all took the Raiders, and the Raiders are now winning 21-0, and it's still not the end of the first quarter.
That should be the
It's
end
still
of
not the
game.
end of the first quarter.
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell has 2 touchdown passes
Oh,
on
of
your
course.
bench,
I told
Evan.
you, he's somebody. He's not better than Easton Stick.
Yep.
Easton Stick. You gotta be kidding me.
So anybody want to guess the 2 receivers who have caught touchdown passes by Aiden O'Connell today?
Jacoby Myers.
He does have one on my bench. Ugh.
Sad.
Oh, well.
And I'm gonna assume it's not Devontae Adams.
It is not.
Hunter Renfro.
No,
He sucks too. I hate him.
he doesn't have any catches today.
I hate his guts. He just fumbles the ball all the time. He sucks.
I hate him because he plays for the Red Sox.
Well, does he still play for the Red Sox?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
The other I don't know any other receivers on the Raiders.
Yeah, Trey Tucker.
Who?
Yeah, very
Okay.
good. So that's where we stand with that one. It's looking pretty good for us.
Shout
I,
out.
I was considering picking the Chargers for some reason.
You always pick the Chargers for some reason.
I
And they always lose.
always pick the Bolts for some reason. We got 3 Saturday games this week. Saturday games for the rest of the season, which I like. I like the Saturday games.
Don't get divorced weekend. Keep that in mind.
Yep. Of course, this week, really only one of them is going to be interesting in my opinion, and it's not the 1:00 game. Vikings at Bengals. Bengals -2.5. What are you guys thinking for this game?
Thinking Bengals, Vikings. You got no quarterback, and I guess neither do the Bengals. But
Jake Browning has at
Jake
least been
Browning is better than who are the Vikings?
Mullins.
Nick
Nick
Mullins.
Mullins.
Out of cold
He
storage.
had some decent games when he was with the 49ers, but this is
That
not
was
the
in the
49ers
college.
offense.
So did
off.
Jimmy
This
G.
is not the 49ers offense.
Is Jimmy G in the league? Where is he at?
He's hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt. He's with the Raiders, but he's hurt.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's got a case of the sucks.
somebody needs to say something.
Well, Corey said so I'm assuming he's gonna say something.
My nervousness with this is that even though Jake Browning has been playing decently lately, the Vikings have the number 6 defense by DVOA, but their offense
Really?
is so bad and it's only getting worse. Their special teams is horrible. I've got to go with the Bengals because I think that they are at least a slightly better team than the Vikings, and they're getting less than 3 points at home. So I'm also going with Cincinnati.
I just think that the infrastructure for the Bengals is better, and Jake Browning has shown competence, right? Like the Vikings didn't have. I don't know if Josh or if Nick Mullins was on their roster when they traded for Josh Dobbs. I assume that he was, but
I think so.
they felt compelled to trade for some guy instead of just letting him play.
Yeah.
And then that guy's been a bum, so they had to bench him. That doesn't inspire confidence in the guy coming in off the bench. So, I got to go with the Bengals too. Like the Vikings feel like Like they feel like they're done. Josh Dobbs had he sprinkled some fairy dust when he came in there initially, but that's over. Just like he did with the Cardinals. I remember the first couple of weeks the Cardinals they weren't winning, but they were frisky, and then they stopped being frisky. Well, it's the same thing here.
4:30 game is Steelers at Colts. Colts are favored by 1.5. I have a feeling I know where Eric is going to go with this because he just eliminated them. So I'm just going to go ahead and
eliminated them because I think they're going to lose this game.
I'm taking the Steelers to win this game.
Kenny Pickett sucks.
Is he playing this week?
Doubt it.
Trubisky's worse. He lost to the Patriots.
Yeah, Pickett's out. Trubisky lost to the Patriots. I know.
Who's the Colts quarterback? Gardner Minshew?
Who's better than all of those guys, and you know it.
Yeah.
I'm on Pittsburgh too.
You always pick the Steelers.
Yeah. The Colts are an unserious organization, right? Like these two teams played on Thanksgiving a few years ago,
I will
and
give the
it
Colts
was not
credit.
close.
The Colts have been playing decently recently, but they've been playing barely well enough to win against bad teams. And granted, the Steelers are a bad team, but the Steelers are number 11 by DVOA this season, even with their horrible offense.
They've got like a negative point differential too.
And they are number 11 by DVOA.
That doesn't make any sense. Aaron Schatz' stats suck. We shouldn't use them at all.
No.
Even though I just listed a ton of them.
The late game on Saturday, 8:15 kickoff is Broncos at Lions. The Lions are -4 favorites. I am a Lions fan, and I am taking the Broncos.
Emotional hedging?
A little bit of emotional hedging, I guess, but also I think that the Broncos are playing better recently than the Lions have been playing. The Lions have been really sucking for the past month. They've been playing with their food against bad teams, against teams that, quite frankly, are worse than the Broncos. And at this point, I think that that -4 is a little too much.
I 100% agree. I feel like the Broncos are an ascending team, and the Lions, have at least plateaued and might be trending down.
Well, I think that the magical run of the Broncos ends this week.
Really?
I think the Lions are going to get right, and they're going to beat them.
By 5.
Yeah, by at least 5.
Okay.
Moving on to Sunday, 1 o'clock. NFC South showdown between the Falcons and the Panthers. Falcons are favored by 3 on the road. I'm laying the points and taking the Falcons, mostly because I need that to happen because it'll be good for my fantasy defense.
Oh.
So you're doing the opposite of emotional hedging. You're putting all your chips in one.
I am. Yeah.
One hand of poker here.
Yeah.
And it's this hand.
I'm emotionally unhedging.
I hate picking the Falcons. I really do because they're
experience.
unreliable. But
unserious.
They are unreliable.
But the other option would be picking the Panthers.
How'd that work out last week?
Yeah, catastrophic.
It didn't.
It worked out for me because y'all blew it and gave me an easy lone wolf.
Yep. So you're taking the Falcons?
Yeah.
What's the line again?
-3
Falcons.
Oh, I already made these picks on the forum too. I just gotta remember who I actually picked. I picked the Falcons for this one. I don't want to talk about it though, because it's the Falcons. I hate them and they suck.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bears at Browns. Browns favored by 3 points at home.
That's not enough. Cleveland.
Yeah, I picked the Browns too.
But Joe Flacco, hon.
He's been awesome.
Yeah.
He's gonna have more touchdown passes in. I think he already did it. Like he had 4 touchdown passes so far this year.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Kenny Pickett's had like 5 his whole life.
Yeah.
Or something.
His whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm starting Joe Flacco this week. So another one I'm gonna emotionally unhenge and
Unhenge.
Yes.
It's a James Holzhauer. All the chips are going in.
Yeah. So
we are Stonehenging. We're gonna call it that.
We are all on the Browns this week.
I will say though, we killed him earlier this year. Justin Fields is playing better football. Like not just he's looking like a competent thrower of the ball, which is not something.
Sometimes he's definitely running the ball.
It looks like he's
again,
figuring it out a little bit. He's figuring it out a little bit.
I'm rooting for him. I like Justin Fields a lot.
Too.
I just it's been a really rough ride for him.
It also just bothers me that they picked Trey Lance and what was the other dweeb Zach Wilson over him. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
What are y'all doing?
Bucks and Packers. Green Bay is laying 3.5 at home this week. This is an interesting matchup to me. And part of it is just, I always enjoy when Tampa Bay plays Green Bay. I always liked seeing the TB and the GB against each other on the scoreboard.
Wasn't the Buccaneers' first game ever in Green Bay?
They used to be in the same division. They used to play each other twice a year. Back when we had 3 divisions per conference.
Central, yeah.
Yeah, that was back in the day. I need a second to think about this one.
Okay, well, I'll take it. I'm taking the Bucks. I think Baker's showing some real moxie this year. He's had multiple games where he's driven down the field with less than a minute to go, scored what should have been a game-winning touchdown. The problem is he had to deal with C.J. Stroud in one of those, and Stroud answered the bell. Last week that didn't happen, but I like the way the Bucs are playing, considering how not good they are. But the Packers have been underwhelming, so I'm going to take them points.
Okay. So Eric taking the Bucs, Evan?
I was leaning Packers, and then Eric, you're convinced me Buccaneers, and going Packers.
Yeah, go Packers, please.
No.
Okay.
Sure. I have no reason why.
So
Neither of these teams are good.
Yeah.
6 and 7 teams playing each other.
I had to look up the injury report for the Packers because I know that some of their wide receivers are dealing with some injuries. Christian Watson's not practiced yet this week. Dontavian Wicks was a DNP yesterday, limited practice today. Jaden Reed is limited practice. And that's important because the one place where the Bucs defense is beatable is the pass game.
Yeah, secondary.
Can't run on them. Not that the Packers are really going to be able to do a whole lot of running this week anyway, because I think A.J. Dillon is banged up, and he's also A.J. Dillon, and Aaron Jones is banged up and has been banged up since week 1. I'm going to take the Bucs. It's a tough one. I don't love this because the Bucs, they're minus 18 point differential on the season. Like the only team worse than them in their conference or in their division is the Panthers.
Well, I hope so.
So they have a worse point differential than the Saints, who have been putrid. They can't score. Their offense is terrible because Derek Carr is terrible.
Yeah, I know.
And the Bucs have somehow been worse despite having all these players that we know. Mike Evans he's been really good again this year.
Mm-hmm. I believe I had that during the fantasy pod, by the way. Evan scoffed at the notion that Mike Evans might actually be
I still don't know why Evan was so low on him.
Really weird.
Chris Godwin hasn't been great, but he's a name. Kate Otten has been playing well this year. Rashad White is amazing. Like Rashad White is the real deal.
Kate Otten. Are you kidding me?
Bold strategy, Otten.
The worst tight end to ever play in a fantasy playoff game in our league.
It was your fault.
It is my fault.
Who is this guy? I'm like, you're not going to win this week with that guy in the lineup, and I was right. You did.
Turned out, it was more because of Tom Brady that I didn't win that game. Anyway, I'm going to take the Bucs, so I'm going to leave Evan on the lonely island there.
Probably for the best.
Yeah. We'll go to Jets at Dolphins. Dolphins are laying 8.5 at home. I don't know whether I get right back in bed with the Dolphins here because the Jets are not a serious team, but
I'm diving headfirst back in bed with the Dolphins.
We just saw this a couple weeks ago. We were at Hershey Park.
Oh, so I didn't see it.
Things changed
We
in a
were
couple of
watching
weeks.
on the phone.
Oh,
Such
yeah.
as losing in embarrassing fashion to the Titans.
I don't care.
Yeah, no, Dolphins. Because, it's like, oh, well, the Jets' defense is really good. Well, yeah, but, they have to be on the field the whole time. And chasing after Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and all of them, it's exhausting. And the Jets can't score. Like, Zach Wilson, we're trusting him, or Trevor Siemian, or...
Zach Wilson's their starting quarterback probably for the rest of the year.
They had a big second half this past week. It was 0-0 at halftime, and they scored 21 points in the first. I think they had 21 points before the fourth. Before the fourth quarter started.
I don't care. That's one game.
Yeah, Dolphins.
Part of my holdup is also the fact that Raheem Mostert is injured right now. Granted, he's been a DNP on Wednesdays all season because of veteran rest or whatever. He's an older guy. Like, see some of the players that he's older than that haven't played in a while. It's crazy. Like, he's older than Todd Gurley.
Well, a lot of people are older than Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was in the league for 15 minutes.
He was drafted in 2016?
Something like that.
What's a certain institution that Evan loves?
Tyreek Hill is hurt, and probably should not have gone back in the game, and he did, and he
was awesome.
Yeah, and he was okay, but like
Made a big catch.
who knows what his week is going to look like.
His wife's just going to tell him to play.
Tua has been struggling a little bit lately, and he's going up against a really good Jets defense.
I don't care.
I'm nervous about this one for the Dolphins.
So pick the Jets.
Yeah, pick the Jets. Get 8.5 points.
Okay.
I'm going to do it. I'm
Yeah.
going to take the Jets.
There you go.
All
Yay.
right.
We got
Give
a
me the
little bit
points.
you get to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. I'm going to do it. This might be my regret pick.
It might
but
be.
Yeah, it's
I'm going to
gonna
do
be,
it.
Yeah.
Giants at Saints. Eric, your Saints are laying 6 at home. I'm taking the G-Men.
What?
I forgot who I took in this already.
Do I need to look it up?
You can look it up, yeah, because I don't want to deviate from my pick.
I mean,
on-
you better look it up quickly because Saints. Like,
Eric, you took the Chargers on here. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm looking at Sean's. For some reason, it didn't pull
no,
yours
I
up.
pick the
didn't.
Chargers.
I was like, no, I absolutely
Wait,
did
yeah,
not.
wasn't
do
one of
that.
the choices.
For some reason, you put Sean's name in here, but it's your email. Hold on, I'm going to
No, no,
refresh
no,
this
no,
and
no.
double
Eric,
check
you picked the
this.
Chargers.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. That was weird. I don't
It
know
says
why.
Raiders,
yes,
right?
It does
okay,
say Raiders.
good. Okay,
Yes, you
I
got the Raiders. You
I don't
got
have
the
to be
Bengals.
lobotomized here, you know, because there's no way that I would have picked the Chargers.
You've got the Bengals. You did take the Colts and not the Steelers. I'm
I
sorry.
said
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the wrong thing. You got the Lions. You got the
Freaking out
Falcons.
here, man.
You got the Browns.
Who
got
did
the
he
Bucks,
pick in
got
the
Vikings.
Giants-Saints game?
have the
Because you
Saints.
said the Chargers.
You have the Saints.
Okay, well
Okay.
then yeah, I'm taking the Saints.
Okay.
Yeah.
Evan.
Saints.
already, yeah.
Okay.
Easy. The Giants, really?
Yeah.
They have no team. They have no offense. They have no defense.
They've got the Italian stallion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Gabagool, you know. Come on, man.
You gotta get the gabagool. Texans at Titans. Titans favored by 2.5 at home. Obviously, one of the big things here is going to be seeing what happens with C.J. Stroud, whether he plays this week. He is in the concussion protocol and has not practiced as of Thursday's walkthrough. This is a really tough one. I think I'm going to go with I'm going to assume that with Stroud not clearing the concussion protocol yet, that he probably will not in time for this game, and I'm going to go with the Titans. If Stroud plays, I'm going to want... I probably won't make this like my regret pick just because of what my assumption is, but I will probably end up being wrong if Stroud plays. That said, the Texans without Stroud and Tank Dell is just a different offense. And I think that it's not going to be as prolific. It's not going to be as explosive and as exciting as it was for the first 12 weeks of the season.
C.J. Stroud was a complete game changer for the Texans, right? Like, I thought they were going to be terrible again. And, the rookie quarterback would have some growing pains and, they would struggle, but they would be getting better. The Texans are a fringe playoff team now. Like they arrived a year or two early. With that said, Stroud being a game changer, it's also a game changer when he's not here. Yeah. So they're gonna go back to what they have been, a 3-win team like every year. So Titans.
I'm pretty sure I picked the Texans because I assumed Stroud's going to play because I forgot he had a C word. So
yeah, you have the Texans.
I guess I'm stuck with them. So hopefully he plays. If he doesn't, well, you have my regret pick of the week lined up.
There you go. The next
neck.
game on that's the neck. The next game on our schedule is going to be the last 1:00 game. The Chiefs at the Patriots. Chiefs are laying 8.5 on the road at Gillette, and it is not enough. I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yeah, Chiefs roll.
Feels like a Chiefs get-right game after
all the whining this
all
week.
The crying and the bad...
You better win after that, and Tony better line his ass up on sides.
No, you're asking a lot of him.
Bill Belichick's going to be like, I think he's lined up off sides.
Yes.
And it's...
Well, the thing, like Kadarius, they talked about how, offensive offsides only been called 11 times in 24,000 plays so far this season. Yeah, because Nobody else does that.
Because you
Right.
know what every wide receiver learns, like in grade school.
To line up on their side of the field.
Not just that.
To
but
check with the official.
You line up, you look at the ref on the line of scrimmage, give him a thumbs up, and you wait for them to acknowledge you and say, "Yep, you're good."
Yeah.
We were calling football games. I don't know if you were like watching it, but I was noticing LeVar Keys, number 12, every single play, he's looking over at the official.
What
Yes,
game were
Corey,
you watching?
I was watching the game that I was calling.
Well, no,
I had to see
but I just don't
on.
know if you noticed the wide receiver
course I
doing that. But
noticed
yes,
that.
LeVar Keys,
Noticed
every
that-
single play, looking at the official. That's what you learn in grade school.
I've
Why is
noticed that
Kadarius
watching
Toney not doing that?
NFL games
Yes.
since I was, friggin' 10
Yes.
years old.
So I
They
don't-
always
yeah.
have done that.
You have to line up on
Anyway.
your side of the field playing backyard football, right? Like
People
with-
get mad at you if you don't. Like,
Yeah.
they'll yell at you and say, "No, you got to run that play back." That's
yeah,
garbage.
that's, and penalty as well. Chiefs roll. Come on.
Yep.
This is-
405 games. We got 2 of them this week, plus a 425 game. First one is 49ers at Cardinals. The Niners laying 12.5. And I've been picking first so far. I'll let you guys go first.
49ers roll.
49ers. Niners. I'm not doubting the Niners anymore. They're a wagon.
Yeah, this is one of the very few teams, maybe the only team at this point that I feel like I can truly trust week in and week out. Most of these teams, it's like, I'm pretty sure they're going to do well, but there's a little bit of that doubt because I've seen them slip up. The 49ers haven't really slipped up so far, and I don't expect them to start now against a crummy Cardinals team, so yeah.
49ers have only looked vulnerable when they weren't healthy. Like when they've got all of their key guys, they roll everybody. So
Yeah.
they have all their key guys and they're playing a terrible team. They're going to roll them.
The other 405 game is the Commodes at the Rams. Rams are laying 6.5 at home. The Rams are one of the other few teams that I feel like I can trust them in terms of I feel like I know what I'm going to get from them. I know who they can beat. I know who they can't beat, assuming they have all their pieces. Like, when you have Kyron Williams and you have Puka and you have Cooper and you have Matthew Stafford all healthy and playing, I feel like I know what we're going to get. We also got what was the guy's name? His 2 first names, which a person who shall not be named would think is very weird. But the rookie tight end for the Rams, had a huge game this past week. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah.
I'm going to look it up real quick, and you guys can make your
doing
picks
that?
real quick.
We're really doing that with
I mean, the only
Sass?
name that's coming back is
with
Jake
he's-
Paul.
He's
Yeah,
so
Davis
terrifying.
Allen.
Davis Allen.
Yes,
Davis isn't a first name.
Davis feels more like a last name, but they put it first.
that's fair.
Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's got a lot of extra neck.
There you go. But yeah, he had a nice game for them. So I think that the Rams are at this point a fairly trustworthy offense when they have all their weapons. And so at this point, playing against a crummy team like the Commanders, I have full confidence in the Rams.
Yeah, I picked the Rams. So.
This Rams roll. Like the Commanders are a complete disaster.
Yeah. All right. So the 425 game is the Cowboys at the Bills. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Bills are laying 1.5 at home.
Why?
I think the wrong team is favored here.
Let's wrap this.
Going with them
Psycho.
boys.
Yeah, Cowboys.
This is the same reason why I picked the Eagles against the 49ers, right? Like, I feel like the wrong team is favored here. But like this.
You were wrong that time. Haven't
Yeah.
Way wrong. As
So-
was I. Yeah.
Yeah.
So bringing that one up here, it doesn't
Yeah.
make me very confident in my pick.
I have no idea.
I'm so mad about that Eagles game because for the first 3 drives, it looked like the Eagles defense was just completely shutting down the 49ers defense or offense. I'm like, yes, here we go.
And the 49ers scored 6 straight touchdowns.
Yeah, well, and the Eagles scored 6 total points off of those stops, and I was like, that doesn't feel good. And then they right down the field they scored. I was like, oh, now they're losing already. I'm like, they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cowboys.
Got smacked.
All right, so we are all on the Cowboys. It's been a few games now since we've had a lone wolf.
Auburn's gonna haunt my nightmares.
The
Brandon
Cowboys
Aubrey
kicker.
is-
You gotta be
oh my
kidding
God.
me.
30 for 30 to start his career.
So now that Young Wei
It's
Koo has
literally
fallen
time
off,
for the ESPN episode. Let's go.
So now that Young Wei Koo's fallen from grace after a brief stint as the highest percentage kicker ever, now it's gonna be Brandon Aubrey.
What is the minimum number of attempts that they had? Is
Probably
it
a lot
50 or
more
is it
than-
100?
I have no idea.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I assume eventually Aubrey's gonna start missing kicks. Not many, but he's gonna miss some.
We'll see. He might never miss one. They had him kick a 60-yard. I'm like, this is gonna be the one. Why are they marching him out there? They're gonna ruin his. And he, yes.
And then he kicked a 59-yarder later.
Yes, and then he kicked a 50 and a 45. Like 4 kicks of over 45.
I know. He outscored Dak, and Dak played a good game. You gotta be kidding me.
Sunday Night Football. Evan, your Ravens are laying 3.5 on the road at the Jags.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this goes back to the old AFC Central days with, some expansion teams or teams that had recently moved or whatever. The Ravens going to Jacksonville has been a house of horrors, right? Like, good Ravens teams have gone to Jacksonville and lost to some terrible Jags teams. So I feel like this is this has been a scheduled loss, to be honest, and I don't like it. So Jags.
I feel like there have been a few times this year where Eric and I have both gone against Evan on a Ravens game, where he picks against the Ravens, we pick the Ravens, he ends up getting it right. And it's making me really nervous because I was definitely leaning heavily Ravens coming into this.
In Jacksonville?
They are the number 5 offense by DVOA, the number 2 defense, number 5 special teams. Whereas the Jaguars, they're good on defense and they're decent on special teams, but their offense is not good. And I have some concerns right now with Trevor Lawrence, even though he did play last week and he played okay.
I thought he looked like ass, but
he looked good when he was targeting Evan Ingram, and he targeted him a lot. Evan Ingram caught 2 touchdowns, if I remember correctly.
Congratulations!
Oh, this is both of his career touchdowns.
They lost that game, right?
They did lose that game.
Yeah.
And they have not been using Travis Etienne nearly as much as they should recently.
Boy, you're in love with him.
He's on my fantasy team. I had him as a 12th round keeper this year. I'm going to get him in the 9th round next year.
Finally actually pulled this off after 7 years of trying to cheat the system by drafting an injured player.
It's not cheating the system. It's gaming the system. It's not cheating the system.
Maybe the system is
6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's the same thing.
You wrote the rules. What are you talking about?
We vote on rules, and these are votable rules.
Yeah, but how many times do people say, it sounds good. It's whatever. Like Taxi Squad. Half the league didn't know what a taxi squad was, but they're like, yeah, sure. No. Corey said
Evan and you didn't, or Drew and you didn't know what a taxi squad was.
I know what a taxi squad is now. And
yeah,
y'all ain't happy about it because my taxi squad's awesome. Yeah. So, look out. You got the best damn taxi squad in the league this year.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud.
Oh,
it's going to be nice.
I don't like leaving Evan on the lonely island with a Ravens game right now. That's my hang up because I'm feeling very confident in the Ravens, and now I'm feeling like I should not be.
This is why you shouldn't be able to see my picks, but you have to verify I don't mess it up. So.
Well, I haven't looked at your pick for this game.
Okay, that's how you know he's going to be on the lonely island.
I don't know for sure. I'm guessing that you're probably going Ravens here, but I don't know for sure. I just have a feeling.
I got a feeling. Come on.
But now I know because you basically.
I gave it away. Yeah, I picked the Ravens, so come on.
I'm going to regret this. This is probably my regret pick. I'm taking the Ravens.
Your regret pick is strictly because, Evan said the Ravens are going to lose, so let's go with that?
Yes.
Okay.
In 2011, that was the best Ravens team I had ever seen, and they went down to Jacksonville on a Monday night and didn't get a first down till almost the 4th quarter.
I seem to recall, because it's the case for most Jags teams, the 2011 Jags were bad. Is it Blaine Gabbert quarterbacking them?
I don't know.
He was drafted that year.
Oh, okay.
By the Jags.
Sure.
So I'm assuming he played.
Yeah, it was a doozy.
All right, Monday Night Football. Eagles, -3.5 at the Seahawks.
I'm pretty sure I picked the Eagles, but yeah.
Oh, I'm falling for it again, Philly.
They're
going to lose by...
so bad, though.
Yeah.
Buns. I don't feel like I'm really picking the Eagles because I'm confident in them. I'm picking them because the Seahawks have been garbage. 6-7. Corey picked them to win the division.
I did pick them to win the division. I'm regretting that for sure.
I think I picked the Chargers to win their division. Are they in last place?
Eagles in Seattle, Monday Night Football. Seattle doesn't hold the same weight that it used to, I feel like, for late games.
I remember the Saints had to go to Seattle Monday night against the Legion of Boom in 2013. That sucked.
That said,
Ass whooping.
I think we're up
Also
to
10 years ago.
Yeah.
We're either up to 5 or 7 consecutive Monday night favorites have outright lost their game.
So
I'm
that
going-
doesn't have anything to do with this game.
I'm going Hawks.
Okay.
Go Hawks.
Mm-hmm. Got to get those high knees on the plane. and stuff.
I'm doing it.
All
I'm
right.
gonna regret it, but I'm gonna do it. So
You've got like
I'm
3
taking
of
the
those
Hawks.
picks this week that you've said I'm going to regret. And
Yeah, I know. But I'm probably not gonna regret all of them. One of them's gonna happen.
it could happen.
It could happen.
It could happen.
It could happen. Well, I'll turn it back over to Eric because he is the host this week.
I am hosting, yes.
Mhm.
So I guess that does it for our picks. Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. I guess. I can't do this without a script, which I gotta remember. What do I say again? You can email us at thesportsballers.gmail.com if you want to give us any feedback or whatnot about our show, any mailbag questions or anything like that. We are glad to take those. Evan, you seem like you're seeing some breaking news. Is there anything going on?
Yeah, there's been a couple passing bombs. Jack Flaherty and Tigers in agreement on 1-year deal for $14 million.
Good riddance.
Rays agree to send Tyler Glasnow to Dodgers, but deal is contingent on Glasnow signing extension with LA.
I can't imagine that Glasnow wouldn't sign an extension with LA. So,
Well, I mean, they just tied up all their money in Shohei Ohtani. But,
like 10 years from now.
yeah.
They
But they
don't
also
anything.
have a bottomless
Yeah,
budget.
they got even more money. So it's not all of their money because they just have more
No.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, you can email us at thesportsballers@gmail.com. You can follow us at Twitter at sportsballers18. You can follow us individually. Corey is at Corey Puffett. I am at Quagmire67. Evan is at Evan_Ash13.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of it, right? We got shout outs. Anything
Yeah.
to say?
I'll shout out the cross country team at DeMatha because we had our banquet on Monday. Gave out awards for most valuable athlete, most improved athletes, coaches awards, captains awards, and at the end of the banquet, the team presented the coaches with our gifts, and they were custom bobbleheads that looked like us, and mine is pretty spot on. Other than the hair is a little bit light, as Eric was mentioning earlier. I don't really care. The boys felt a little bit bad about that, even though they didn't need to.
That was fine.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome. Like it's like I got my own bobblehead. How many people have their own bobblehead?
Not me.
Not me.
So it's
My
probably the
bobblehead would be
coolest gift that I've
grotesque.
gotten as a coach. So definitely shout out to those guys for coming with a very
It's just a
unique
bobble.
and fun gift.
No.
Yeah, okay, it's a bobble something. It's just normally bobbleheads have bigger heads, so just kind of
Yeah.
like I was.
I prefer it like that.
I agree
I
because
wouldn't want
it doesn't make you
cartoonishly
look like a munchkin or something weird.
big. But yeah, so I think that's my main shout. I guess also shout out Neil Murphy because tomorrow we kick off our DeMatha basketball season in terms of coverage on DM Stags TV. You can check that out on YouTube, DM Stags TV. 7:30 p.m. tomorrow, DeMatha hosts Good Counsel. It's our first WCC game. Good Counsel's not that good this year. They're 2-6, so hopefully we win. But you never know with WCAC matchups.
Are we good?
We're 6-0.
Okay, sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Evan,
We played
any
against a
shout-outs?
team.
No, I
think
don't
that's
have
ranked, like,
anything.
26th in the country, so and we beat them.
Cool.
Yeah, I got nothing for you.
No
for
shout-outs
shout-outs.
for Evan. Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll kind of make one up on the fly here. Shout out to anybody who's in the post for their fantasy football leagues. I know our league that the three of us share. We still have a week to go, and I think only one of us can make the playoffs out of the three. I don't
Well, yeah,
think there's any way
because
for-
Brandon has already clinched a playoff. He's already clinched our division.
Yeah.
So
We're all in the same
and we're all in the
division,
same
so-
division, so only one of us could get in.
Yeah, so-
and we all could also get out.
It honestly feels more likely that none of us make it than one of us makes it, because like we all need things to go our way even if we win.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. But I know I'm in my other league. I made the playoffs somehow. Evan, you have other leagues. Are you in the post?
Yes, and the postseason started already.
Oh,
Yeah, we have a 16 playoff, so
How many are in that league?
10.
10.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think that's too much.
I agree, but it's also the only reason I made the post in my league. I think because I'm in a 10-team league with 6 playoff teams, and Although I think I'm the 4 seed, so I would have gotten in anyway.
I'm the 5.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I actually think my team is really good despite some ridiculous losses I've taken this year. Yeah, shout out to anybody who made it. Corey, I know you said you thought you made it and then you didn't make it.
So if we had used head-to-head record as a tiebreaker, which we'll probably institute next year, I would have been in.
No.
But
Should be points.
No.
Yeah.
Head-to-head's
Then
more fun.
what's the point of playing like head-to-head matchups during the
To
season?
get your
then?
record in
That's
there.
why you play
Well,
the games.
okay, but if you're just going to make the points the tiebreaker, why not just make it points throughout the season
Do
and
a
not care about
rotisserie
the
league?
just do a rotisserie league at that
That-
point.
We're just breaking a tie. We're not, the
Okay,
record
but-
still
okay,
decides.
but if
If
I
I
beat
beat
somebody
you-
twice during the season, I deserve to get in over you. You should have beaten me when you played me.
Yeah.
You had multiple opportunities, and
Yeah.
for one of them.
Yeah.
So I went 3-0 against the 2 teams that I was tied with, except that historically in this league we have done points. And so at first I switched and put myself in, and then when I looked back through our league history, I was like, well, we've always done points. So and we didn't talk about this before the season, so I got to
mean, it
revert.
should
You
be
can't,
points.
you can't put yourself in.
Right,
Just
so I-
'cause
so
like,
I-
oh, this is
yeah.
how it should be.
Yeah,
so put
right.
me in
So
a post.
I switched it back, and we're going to make that announcement next off season. That
No, it
it's-
should be points.
that's
That's
head-to-head.
the one thing in fantasy football you can, almost control is how well your team does.
Guess who just threw another touchdown pass, Evan?
Easton
Aiden O'Connell.
Stick.
Aiden O'Connell. Guess who this one went to?
Devontae Adams.
No,
Jacoby Myers.
no,
The other guy.
The guy.
no,
that we
not
didn't
Trey
know.
Tucker.
Hunter Renfro.
No, Michael Mayer.
Who the hell is that?
He's
Is
the, he's the tight end. He's a rookie.
care.
Will Massimini started him a couple times this year.
How's his team doing? Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Chipotle's closing soon, so
Well, you're free to leave anytime, Evan. Thank you guys for tuning in. Evan's getting hungry and grouchy like an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week when Evan's running the show, and I'm sure he will just get this done so quickly so he can go to Chipotle. Or Whopper Wednesday.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next time. Take it easy.